And breezy, shower tomorrow, the high 70. Breezy Sunday morning, and then a partly sunny afternoon, the high 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Mostly cloudy, 66 at O'Hare, 68 at Midway, 60 in Aurora, and a beach hazard statement is up for most of the Illinois, Lake Michigan shoreline, and northwest Indiana. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answers starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Israel has been on the receiving end of more than 10,000 incoming rockets, drones, and missiles since October 8th of last year, when Hezbollah, unprovoked, began its war against Israel in the north of Israel. The Biden-Harris Middle East policy is in flames, as is the region. All that Vice President Harris can say about Israel and Hamas is, we must get a deal done. What former President Trump has said consistently is that Israel needs to win, and fast. Trump, of course, ran the maximum pressure campaign against Tehran, which had nearly bankrupted that regime, until Biden and Harris ended that campaign and began not only to ease sanctions, but unfroze billions in Iranian assets. Ayatollah Khamenei wants no part of Trump 2.0. The mullahs are clearly hoping for a Harris-Walz win. Americans ought to think about the national security and peace through strength. The choice is clear: Donald Trump.
Attention, anyone with high blood pressure.
If you want to seriously control your blood pressure and not be a walking time bomb,
Order 120 Life today.
120 Life is an amazing blend of superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure. It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
With ingredients that have shown to naturally help control blood pressure, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life.
Try it for yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack.
Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
It's Jeep Adventure Days at Bettenhausen Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, now open on 159th Street in Lockport. Bettenhausen has your ticket to anywhere. Hurry in and get huge savings off MSRP on a new Jeep Grand Cherokee or Jeep Compass. Bettenhausen has big savings on a new Ram 1500 or new Chrysler Pacifica. Bettenhausen has the Midwest's best selection. Choose from over 900 vehicles with no hassle and no haggle. Showroom never closes at cdjroflockport.com.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here. So many people come up to me in the airport or at the gym and say, hey, Amy, does QC Kinetics really work? And I could tell them that I went to one of their offices. I talked to people who went through the procedure and they love it. But I'm not a doctor. So today we're joined by Dr. Ashley Caravelli to discuss the properties and how it all works, because people are hungry for this, because people who are injured, who have chronic pain in their knees or back or their hip, they don't want surgery, and QC Kinetics is the perfect alternative. What's the science behind regenerative treatments?
Our goal is to treat the underlying problem of what's causing the pain in that joint, and we use our state-of-the-art lab to do that. We use the body's innate ability to heal itself. Our bodies have this ability to treat problems that are there, but it doesn't always do it as efficiently as we would like it to. And that's where we come in to help at QC Kinetics. We take those healing properties, concentrate them in our lab, and then put them where you need them most. So for a lot of our patients, that tends to be knees, hip, shoulders. But our goal is to make sure that they're able to get pain relief and try to avoid having surgery.
Because our body really has the ability to heal itself.
So we'll take those healing properties that are in your body, your blood, we concentrate them, and then we target them to where you need them. And then we let your body heal itself.
What happens after the treatment? Do I have to keep coming back and then in 6 months come back again and then keep coming back?
So that's the beauty of what we do. As much as I love my patients, I don't want them coming to see me for a lifetime. I want to treat them and let them move on with their life and not have to come see me all the time. We estimate anywhere from 5 to 10 years of improvement after treatment, and you're only with me in treatment for about 6 months.
And the consultation is free, folks, so you have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I hope everyone who is either listening from the Sunshine State or maybe has a place down there, friends down there, is doing okay after Helene made landfall late last night, early this morning.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to know if your property's okay because you got hit hard the last time.
It was the water was lapping up to my place, but I dodged Helene, thankfully. So, it did come over the seawall a little bit during the surge at high tide last night, but stopped short of my house proper, which is good since I just got done redoing it. Anyway.
What about your backyard, the pool? Was that fine?
It's fine.
Okay, good.
But what got me through it, actually the anxiety, sort of aggravating, Joe Biden. Joe Biden got me through it because, I recall something he once said about how to endure a natural disaster like a hurricane.
Let me be clear. If you're in a state where hurricanes often strike, like Florida or the Gulf Coast or into Texas, a vital part of preparing for hurricane season is to get vaccinated now.
That's right.
Everything is more complicated if you're not vaccinated and a hurricane or a natural disaster hits.
Yeah, 100%. So I kept that top of mind because I said, look, if I can survive with a loon like Joe Biden being president for 4 years, then I could survive the flooding of my house again. And so it really calmed me down. So I want to give, a little hat tip, a little praise to the big guy for that gem that has stuck with me these many years after the pandemic. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro text and answer line if you have a hurricane survival story of sorts. Not exactly Phuket either. So, I don't want to overstate it, but it is aggravating. And obviously the people that are more in the eye of the storm up north in the Tallahassee area still trying to get a handle on the damage that Helene caused passing through.
And 3 people dead so far in Florida and in Atlanta or in Georgia. I had to call Peyton because I got these emails that are scaring the crap out of parents. We're canceled school today, e-learning tomorrow. So I called him and, I can hear a noise in the background and it sounded like poker chips. And I said, well, he goes, what are you doing? He goes, what are you calling? I talked to you already, yesterday. And I said, well, are you okay? He goes, well, okay, what? I said, well, they sent out an email saying that you guys might get hit hard by the hurricane. He said, Mom, we're fine. Like, are you playing
Atlanta?
poker? Just the remnants of it. So they canceled school
You
yesterday.
mean they may get rain, which is what they're going to get?
They always get rain. It rains in Georgia all the time.
Oh.
So, but I mean, I'm just saying that sometimes there's a lot of hyperventilating going on. And
No question.
one Florida sheriff said if residents ignore the hurricane evacuation, that they should write in permanent marker their name, birth date on an arm or leg, so family can be notified.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just saying that's one way to go about it. Because some people decided to stay and some decided. I mean, if you were in Florida, would you stay with your property?
Yes. In fact, I was thinking about going down and lashing myself to my property because I previously said the next time something like this happens, I said this 2 years ago, I'm going to be like Captain Ahab. I am going to be tied to that, and I will go down with it because I don't want to go through it again and so forth. Yeah, that's my well-appointed little domicile down there in Naples. So Sean from Elmwood Park is fine. We're all fine. So thank you for your concern.
Did you see the tweet I sent you with the, I think it was in Ybor City in Tampa, you know, that famous drive there there was a boat and they had a big Trump flag and they were going up and down the street.
Yeah.
That went viral yesterday.
Well, there's a certain...
It's having fun.
Especially if you've been in Florida for a minute, there's a certain sense of being inured to these tropical storms the way that Chicagoans are inured to snow and bitter cold and so forth. So, you get used to the downside of the weather wherever you are, I suppose. There's nothing that's perfect. What's that line from Seabiscuit? Show me something that's perfect, and I'll show you something that's not perfect.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business, and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Your local State Farm agent Anthony DeGrotto combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. You can combine your home, auto, and life insurance to not only save you money, but give you the peace of mind you've been looking for. Anthony DeGrotto is your go-to agent in Chicagoland. He and his team will work for you to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance today. Anthony DeGrotto will help you mix and match things perfectly. His State Farm office is a top pick 2024 Daily Herald Reader's Choice Award winner. He's a proud supporter of Tunnel to Towers and like-minded as you. His State Farm agency is currently looking to add members at their Roselle office. Call Anthony at 847-895-1500 today or visit DeGrottoSF.com. That's DeGrottoSF.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Oh, I love it. I'm 83 years old, and it has helped me.
Everything was okay. I feel better. I just turned 90, so I'm doing real good.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You know, some guys tell me, oh, that's psychological, man. I said, let me tell you something. I don't care what it is. It's working.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The
Answer. David and Lansing, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I just heard your reports about the hurricane in Florida.
Yeah.
And I just have a suggestion here. Maybe the Florida governor needs to get involved and make sure the local media does not say raining cats and dogs because it may cause an influx of Haitians into Florida.
Yeah, that's a hate crime now to suggest that. I do updating, because I know people are concerned. Old Florida, my golf club down there, is sent out a missive this morning. Brace for this. It's not pleasant news.
The beer cart girl's not going to be able to go to work today.
This is not a track that's open to the hoi polloi. There's no cart girls. This is a golf club.
Jesus.
Good grief.
Okay, Dan.
Hurricane Helene brought 3.5 inches of rain to Old Florida.
Oh, no.
We will not be able to use carts today.
Oh, my no.
Naples did not go unscathed. I just want you to know. So please, you pray for the members of Old Florida who wanted to play today and will not be unable to use carts.
Some may take more than 6 hours. Are slow play rules going to be invoked?
There's no need for a slow play rule at Old Florida.
Okay.
That's a 3:30 round club at that's a slower round. There's 3 hours 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, you guys get it around.
People want to know about your hat. They want to know about your car, Sean's car, yada yada.
I talked to Sean yesterday after his program, and he was lucky actually. He had taken his car because his parking lot got flooded, but he was. I mean, he can tell it in a show too. But he went and stayed a little bit further inland with a cousin yesterday, so he's fine. The car's fine.
And your car's fine.
But again, I just want to report.
Thank God.
No carts today at Old Florida. All right.
How are we going to go on? All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
5:38. We're speaking of the cats and dogs. We will update the case of Frankie Blue Eyes in Bangor, Maine at 5:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
5:31, and we are watching what remains of Helene, a tropical storm this morning, still dangerous. Tornadoes this morning in eastern Georgia, the Carolinas, and southern Virginia. Some 2 million customers are without power.
We know right now that there are more than 1 million people without power in Florida.
Where the storm came ashore Thursday night as a Category 4 storm. Florida business owner Morgan Sundberg says her company, Cane's Cattle, was hit hard.
It's kind of a numbing feeling. We're already expecting Cane's to be at a total loss.
After making landfall as a Category 4 storm, Helene still had sustained winds of 70 miles an hour about 5 minutes ago. The one-year anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attacks against Israel coming up in just a little over a week. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in New York City. He'll address the UN General Assembly today. Vice President Harris scheduled to visit the southern border today for the first time since she became the Democrat nominee for president. Former President Trump's lawyers are looking to overturn his civil fraud conviction in New York.
An appeals court in New York City hearing arguments Thursday reverse or reduce the $454 million civil fraud judgment against him. A judge ruling earlier this year the former president, the Trump Organization, and top executives, including two of his sons, falsely altered his net worth on statements to gain tax and insurance benefits, ordering them to pay a combined $464 million plus interest. His lawyers argue the penalty was unjust and the case violates the statute of limitations, citing transactions dating back over a decade. The former president and his family deny any wrongdoing, the GOP presidential nominee vowing to fight the case all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
3 people in 2 different vehicles were wounded in drive-by gunfire in the Grand Crossing neighborhood of Chicago last night. Chicago police report the shooting took place around 10:42 in the 7500 block of South Stony Island Avenue, where a 23-year-old and 25-year-old man were transported in very critical condition to the University of Chicago Medical Center. A convicted Chicago terrorist has lost his latest and probably final attempt to avoid extradition to India, where he faces the death penalty. Tarawa Rana was already convicted in Chicago for his role in the 2008 Mumbai massacre. Now the one-time Chicago travel and immigration agent has learned he will not get a final appellate court review of his extradition challenge. It was November of 2008 when Pakistani terror squads invaded Mumbai, India. When the attackers were finally wiped out, 175 were left dead, including 6 Americans. College football this weekend. Number 16 Notre Dame prepping for number 17 Louisville. Number 19 Illinois looks to stay undefeated when they visit number 9 Penn State in Happy Valley. The White Sox continue to win and evade being on the wrong side of history after shutting out the Angels 7-0, sweeping their 3-game series at guaranteed rate. Garrett Crochet starts for the Southsiders against the Tigers tonight. Cubs begin their final series of 2024 when they host the Reds at Wrigley Field. Cowboys knock off their NFC East rival Giants of New York Thursday Night Football 20-15. The news service of Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry up. Offer will end soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John tomorrow afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Hello, my name is Gina. When I first found out that I was pregnant, I was in a very dark place. I was living out of my car or on the streets, working as a dancer at a nightclub, heavily into drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know how I was going to deal with having a child. You know, people look at someone living like I was and say, that's why we need abortion. I didn't need an abortion. What I needed was help. So Aid for Women helped me move into Heather's house. They gave me everything. A place to stay, clothes, food, a listening ear, help with my daughter, everything. To learn more about my story, watch my video, and support this great organization, go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can help save lives and souls like mine from abortion today.
Aid for Women offers women real choice. They really do terrific pro-life work. Please step up and support this great organization. Go to helpaidforwomen.org.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do. Bring your ideas to life at Dell.com.
538, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you. Visit 56david.com, 855-563-2843, lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, tough sledding southbound between Irving Park and North Avenue in the roadwork and construction zone. Otherwise, the Dan Ryan is showing up with a left lane blocked with an accident inbound in the express on the Dan Ryan between Pershing and 31st. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A windy day ahead. That's why we have a beach hazard warning up. Clouds and sunshine. High 73. Clouds on the increase overnight. Windy and 62. Cloudy and 65 right now. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy updating our top story this morning. No carts at Old Florida.
So what do you...
Again, to repeat, walking only at Old Florida in Naples today, thanks to Hurricane Helene. Also, please allow the ground crew to be patient with the ground crew. There's some debris on the course that needs to be cleaned up as well. Leaves. So the men's grill, normal hours, 7:30 to 3:30. Well, that's actually just the grill, but 7:30 to 3:30. But again, walking only. Please allow for the grounds crew to clean up some of the debris.
Put your bag on a cart and have a pull cart, or do you have to just carry your bag? You haven't defined the rules for me.
Well, you can. If you have a pull cart, but
it's got to stay in the.
We have a good caddy program, so I suggest taking a caddy or carrying your own if the caddies aren't available. Cleaning up debris and whatnot.
And then what about this hat? We're getting so many text messages about your hat from Ireland because you never talked about your golf.
Yeah,
outing.
We'll get to that. But we have some more important matters. Yes. This case of Frankie Blue Eyes out of Baier, Maine. Maine is a state that is inviting people to come to this country legally and to settle in Maine. That's what Janet Mills, the governor there, is doing and has been doing for the better part of the Biden administration. She wanted to resettle 75,000 foreign-born migrants in Maine by the 2029 because, of course, she says she needs them for open jobs in Maine to keep Maine's economy churning. They can't just rely on Stephen King novels. They've got to do some other things.
$75K though, that's Schaumburg and Mount Prospect combined.
And there's this curious case of missing cats, starting with Frankie Blue Eyes. I'm not suggesting why they're missing or at whose hands they've gone missing. I'm just reporting what the local news is reporting.
Frankie Blue Eyes went out at night as she usually does, but this time she never came home.
She's so amazing and lovable. It's really a hole in my heart without her.
Frankie is one of at least 16 cats in Bangor's Fairmount neighborhood that have gone missing in the past 2 months.
They just disappeared without a trace.
It's been a month since Matt Morgan's cat Eloise went missing. Morgan says in the time that he's lived in the neighborhood, this influx is unusual.
There was never this kind of spike of this kind of activity. And the animals that disappeared, they either were found, later or it just wasn't at that rate.
None of these cats have been found, making it hard for cat owners to get closure.
It's like you're in grief, but you can't really grieve because you don't know if they're actually gone.
What's on many neighbors' minds is why did this happen? Bangor's animal control officer, Tricia Bruin, who is investigating these incidents, says she believes the cats were killed by wildlife. But she says it's possible some cats ran away and will return or were stolen. The Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, though, does not believe it's wildlife, as foxes, coyotes, and fishers have always been in the area.
But my question is, where's her collar? Where's her remains if it was an animal?
No remains of any cats have been found, but Foster remains hopeful that she'll get answers.
I'm not going to give up hope on Frankie, but I'm hoping she comes home soon. And everybody else's cats, they're amazing. And they're such an important part of the family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as the resident cat expert, would you like to comment on this rash of missing cats in Bangor, Maine, where the governor and the political class there is inviting people to come to this country legally and settle in places like Bangor?
Well, let me start with Meow Meow, and thank you for the time to grieve with these people, because I know what it's like. I mean, I'm still missing my cat Marshfield, and he's been gone for 2 years, and you just keep hoping that maybe they'll come back, or maybe somebody will find his collar somewhere and call and say, hey, I found your cat's collar, but not your cat. But 16 cats to be missing in that tiny town is problematic. But these cats are beautiful.
It's not that tiny, but
well,
yeah.
But still, but they're all in the same neighborhood. It's not like you're talking the South Side's missing a few, and it's a lot smaller than obviously say a suburb of Chicago. But these cats are beautiful. Did you see Frankie Blue Eyes? All pure white, long hair, blue eyes. So I don't know. I mean, it could be. I don't want to suggest that it's people that are there illegally because A has not been linked to B. But think about what happened in Chicago. Remember, we had that crazy guy, Thomas William Martell, who was charged with 2 felony counts of animal torture, 4 felony counts of aggravated cruelty to animals. He was obsessed with cats. He would take cats, kill them, bring them back to life, drown them at his apartment in Wicker Park. So it could be some one-off crazy like that, or...
Well, Stephen King's house is located in Bangor, Maine. I'm just saying, I mean, the author of Pet Sematary. I don't know. Maybe there's a circumstantial case there. There's also a circumstantial case for this.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Bangor, Maine, maybe.
They're eating the cats.
We don't know.
They're eating the pets.
Looking into it.
Of the people that live there.
People of
Bangor, Maine.
Please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else.
Do it again.
People
Yeah,
of
Bangor, Maine.
Please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody tracked down Stephen King or, his mom, who he married.
By the way, that guy, the artist, the Kifnis, who wrote that song, he's got millions of views. He was even in Munich, Germany, and said a few weeks ago, I was in my basement at my home in South Africa writing this song, and now he's traveling all over Europe.
It's a synth pop classic. It recalls to mind a happier time when Howard Jones was topping the charts back in the 80s. Mike in Littleton, Colorado.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. Just real quickly, I mean, the cats and the dogs and all of that, don't even get sidetracked on that. The crime is this invasion of the country, and we have two arguments that we can't even win.
Not an invasion.
Can't even get
not an invasion. They were invited. So
okay,
you know, I just a point of order on that.
I'll accept that, but what he would do, who would want to run a country where 40, 45, 50% of the people don't even value their own citizenship?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that when I think of that, if we were a corporation, if we were General Motors, would 45% of our people working for us pull for Ford? I mean, it's really, man, I hate to say we're doomed. Where are the men? Right?
Well, we've been asking
Anyway.
that for a while.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Well, one man named Joe Manning is the borough manager of Charleroi, Pennsylvania. They've had an influx of migrants, too. He sat down with America 2100, which is sort of a sui generis online outlet that's focused on issues like border security and American culture. And this is what he had to say about people in his community that you've heard, that we've brought you, that are speaking up at local council meetings about the impact this influx of migrants has had on Charleroi, Pennsylvania, a small town, the people that are leaving. Joe Manning explaining himself. First, you'll hear from the reporter, and then you'll hear from the borough manager of Charleroi.
An opinion we've heard from multiple people independently of one another is that the Haitian immigration is making that situation worse, not better. It's not making it so that it's more likely that people stay here. It's making it less likely that people stay here, because while there hasn't necessarily been a violent crime uptick, you're living in a neighborhood that used to be all people who looked like you, spoke your language, were there for generations, their parents, your parents, and now it's people who don't speak your language, from a very different place, have very little in common with you, and hang out with one another. You know, it feels sort of isolating. I mean, we talk to people who their entire block now is people from Haiti and Liberia, and they don't talk to their neighbors anymore. Now, that's not the Haitians' fault. If I were a Haitian, I would come somewhere like this too. But as you know, that for at least these people is making the kind of hollowing out of places like Charleroi worse. It's expediting it rather than saving the town.
Yeah, that's kind of always existed. You know, in New York you have Little Italy, in San Francisco you have Chinatown. There were always these enclaves where immigrants would sort of build their own culture, stay with their own kind, practice their own cultural, practices that they have. But in time, that fades away. As their children grow to be Americans, pretty soon, they let go of the past, and they let go of what their parents had brought here, and they're as American as anybody. So.
But obviously, a small town like Charleroi is very different than New York,
Sure.
right? So, it's the kind of thing where, there could be a point where Haitians outnumber sort of, the Native Americans who have been here for generations. And then, rather than New York, which is this huge city where eventually you kind of assimilate into the broader culture because it's a huge city, you just have a small town of Haitians, right? And there is an assimilation because they just brought a little slice of where they came from here.
I think immigration should be regulated absolutely, because you can't have an open border. I mean, let's just be realistic. That's not good for the people coming across. It's not good for the people that live here. It's not good for anybody. But America is a country of immigrants. I mean, we've been a country of immigrants since the Mayflower dropped anchor. That's just the way it is. And I don't know that it's ever going to change.
Yeah, boy, you've got a problem there in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, with Joe Manning as your borough manager, because that's just a bunch of nonsense what he's saying. I mean, Charleroi, Pennsylvania is a town of 4,000 people. and they have, what are the reports, 1,000 Haitian and Liberian migrants mainly. And the temporary protected status or the sort of parole program, whether it's truly through legal means like TPS or whether it's through these extra legal maneuvers that the Biden administration has made, is really immaterial to the impact. And for him to say we've always been a nation of immigrants, so people just assimilate like Little Italy or Chinatown in big cities at the turn of the 20th. I mean, come on. That is apples to orange groves, those comparisons. And you've heard from residents of Charleroi talking about the local schools that are now dominated by the kids from people who've come to this country in one form or the other. So the reporter makes the salient point that you just usurp the local culture. You don't assimilate into it, into the larger American culture. That's what's actually happening. And for him to use these throwaway lines like, that's just how it's always been, and this is just it. But of course, I'm not for open borders because that's an untenable position. But de facto, you are, because you're serving as an apologist for it.
He's a fraud.
And this is why you maybe want to pay attention to your local government. You know, you think you're part of this community and everybody is sort of sensible. And then there are people that have political aspirations or just have sort of the instinct to lord over others and who have been, bitten by the proverbial leftist mind virus, have thrown in with the new Bolsheviks. And all of a sudden, your town is being taken away from you by your neighbor. And that's what's happening in Charleroi, Pennsylvania. It's happening in Fairhope, Alabama, which we brought to you yesterday as well. This is a community. It's interesting because I was talking to a friend of mine who was we were talking about Southwest Florida in the context of the hurricane and so forth. And he's like, yeah, I was looking at this place up in Alabama called Fairhope. It's just like this little enclave, and it's really nice and so on and so forth. I'm like, really? You may want to take notice of the fact that they're on the cusp of having a migrant problem like you've probably heard about in places like Springfield, Ohio, and Whitewater and Wisconsin and others. He's like, really? Oh, my goodness. Right. It can happen anywhere. And it's happening in Fairhope. And we're getting a little bit more color on it, too, because it sounds like exactly what I'm talking about with this Charleroi borough manager, Joe Manning, where all of a sudden you wake up and you find that your city council is signing on to this open borders program effectively, and you're losing control of your community. And now the people of Fairhope, which is this, as we heard from our friend Matt from Birmingham yesterday too, it's this nice little upper income enclave. Well, now it's in jeopardy, isn't it? Here's a mom who addressed the city council recently.
I wanted to come to address the fact that our schools really cannot take on any more students, especially students that don't speak English. Our schools are maxed out. Our teachers are at capacity. I was at my son's baseball game when I listened to what you were saying, and I want to remind everyone why we're here. We're here because of a letter that you signed. We're not here because we're incompassionate or we don't have feelings or we don't care about people. And you know what? All I could think of when you were talking is that you are gaslighting every single one of us. So I'm going to read a little piece of the letter that you signed. We continually hear from our constituents that they believe in and support refugee resettlement, from greeting refugee families at the airport to assisting with English language classes or navigating bus lines. Our communities stand welcome. I don't remember you asking anybody that's here how they felt about that. And you signed a letter on behalf of your position representing our city. And that is a huge problem for me. If you're going to sign a letter like that and you represent our city, then you need to ask the constituents how they feel about it.
Why?
Why? Yeah.
Why ask them when we are going to impose our will on them? They could say no. We'll rather ask for forgiveness or gaslight them or shame them and call them racist and so forth for expressing a completely sensible grievance like that woman just expressed. We talked about this before, refugee resettlement. Once upon a time in America, like in the wake of the Vietnam War, there were efforts made to resettle refugees, but it was voluntary. And it was, there's this opportunity. We want to resettle these individuals who need protection, need asylum, legitimately seeking political or facing political persecution.
Legitimately.
And American families would say, okay, well, we'll take in a refugee for X period of time, or we'll participate in the program. And they could have done that in places like Fairhope, Alabama, but that's not what the political class's attitude, that's not what the new Bolshevik party's attitude is anymore.
They just did it without asking their constituents because they don't care.
Right. Well, why? I mean, that's the operative question. So you want to, we support the refugee resettlement program. Why didn't you come to us and say who in Fairhope wants to take in a migrant family from Haiti or Venezuela or El Salvador or anywhere else? No. This is not the time to wait for people to volunteer. This is the time to impose our will, and that's what's happening across the country. Oh, and by the way, lest we forget, the stories. You know, remember Black Lives Matter? Say their names.
Oh, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
It was good marketing for terrible.
Silent is violence too.
Say their names was good marketing for terrible public policy. Defund the police. Because it just focused on people who had been killed, regardless of an assessment of whether the police were in the right or wrong. That was purposeful. That's why it was good marketing, because it moved past the moral judgment. Well, I think for the last 5 weeks, the Trump campaign and the GOP would do well to have a listen to their stories marketing campaign. Listen to their stories. Not bringing them to a Trump rally. These people are coming to their local councils, not as partisans, and you should leave them as not partisans. Okay. And let them tell their stories. Did you hear the woman whose mother-in-law was killed address the Fairhope, Alabama board? Did you hear the woman whose mother-in-law was killed address the Springfield, Ohio Village Board? Listen to their stories, not filtered by politicians, Trump or Vance. I think actually on Tuesday night, Vance would do well to platform some of these stories too. Don't listen to me. Listen to them. Listen to your fellow Americans.
Coming up, it's 6 a.m. Today we're going to have wind and clouds, a high of 73, 6 a.m. WYND.
The sun is coming up on devastation in the southeast. On Jack Callahan, Fox News.
Oh, it's crazy. I've never seen it this bad.
Hurricane Helene slamming the Florida coast last night southeast of Tallahassee is a Category 4 hurricane. Winds at 140 miles an hour at landfall, the strongest storm ever to hit that area. Power is out for more than 2 million customers in Florida and Georgia. Fox senior meteorologist Janice Dean.
This is going to be a flooding story for millions of folks. For Georgia and the Carolinas, we have several flooding emergencies. Catastrophic flooding for areas like Asheville.
In Atlanta, first responders using rafts have rescued more than 24 people from flooded areas. At least 3 deaths are blamed on the storm. 1 in Tampa, 2 others in Georgia. Helene has now been downgraded to a tropical storm as it moves into northern Georgia. President Biden has issued an executive order which he says targets gun violence.
The executive order will establish a new federal task force on emerging firearm threats. Previously, my administration took action to crack down on private manufacturers of firearms.
The order also directs government agencies to develop better active shooter drills for schools. Vice President Harris heads to Arizona today and her first visit as a candidate to the southern border.
It might seem like dangerous political territory, being that she has been part of the current Biden administration for the last near 4 years. But Harris has pointed to the previous bipartisan border security bill that she supported, which would have added more border agents and beefed up technology along the border.
Fox's Jeff Paul. Former President Trump says the vice president is to blame for the border.
She sent Congress a bill demanding amnesty for all illegal aliens, every single illegal alien, even if they're criminals, even if they're murderers, even if they're drug dealers.
America is listening to Fox News.
64 degrees. Skies are cloudy at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A beach hazard warning is up for the Illinois lakefront of Lake Michigan and the dunes of northwest Indiana. This morning, An extensive search is underway near a hotel in Lombard. A hotel worker at the Extended Stay America says first responders are searching for a child that was a guest at the hotel located along 22nd Street. Lombard police and fire departments are on the scene, including a video we can see live from our friends at Channel 9 this morning. Divers are in a pond next to the hotel at that Extended Stay America. 3 people in 2 different vehicles were wounded in a drive-by gunfire shooting in the Grand Crossing neighborhood last night. The gunfire broke out around 10:42 in the 7500 block of South Stony Island. 25-year-old and 23-year-old males were transported in critical condition to the University of Chicago Medical Center. Chicago Board of Education putting a ban on school closures for the near future in place and not talking about forcing out their CEO.
We cannot and will not and won't discuss confidential or personnel matters publicly.
The vote comes after the Chicago Teachers Union claimed CPS CEO Pedro Martinez was planning closures. Mayor Brandon Johnson not happy about being stiff-armed by his hand-picked board.
This is really, not about discussing personnel issues, and I've said that repeatedly. What families want to know is that the mayor of Chicago is still committed to transforming our public school systems.
And a jury has convicted a man of killing a police sergeant in South Suburban Bradley in 2021.
It's hard not to feel anything but sadness because of this senseless act of violence that we experienced.
Bradley Chief Don Barber reacting to news that Darius Sullivan yesterday was found guilty of murder for the shooting death of Sergeant Marlene Ritmanic and the wounding of Officer Tyler Bailey at a hotel in December of 2021. White Sox continue to evade being on the wrong side of history, shutting out the Angels 7-0, sweeping their 3-game series at guaranteed rate. Chris Flexen picking up the win. Cubs begin their final series of 2024 when they host the Reds at Wrigley Field. First pitch at 1:20. Blackhawks look for their first win on the NHL preseason when they visit the Red Wings in Detroit. The News, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% on your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com and use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, the offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm not a young guy, and I'm an ex-athlete. Well, when I was taking it, I recognized that I was feeling better. You know what I'm saying? And just mentally knowing is important also.
I am a customer of you guys. I love your product. Love it, love it. Nothing but good things to say about your product. I love it. And as long as y'all are going to sell it, I'm going to take it as long as I can.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar, And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is a service of our friends at Waukegan Roofing. For commercial roofing replace or repair, contact the company that has been replacing and repairing commercial roofs in Chicagoland since 1914 and shares your values. WaukeganRoofing.com. Emergencies, welcome. Kennedy inbound at a mild 32 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stop and go traffic, though, on the inbound Ike. 42 minutes in from 390 to the old post office. Delays from Manheim to Des Plaines Avenue and then Oak Park Avenue. On the outbound side to Des Plaines Avenue. Right there, you have a left lane blocked and ongoing crash and recovery from an accident earlier this morning. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and some sun. It'll be windy. High today 73. Clouds windy and mild tonight, low 62. Cloudy, breezy, shower tomorrow, the high 70. Breezy on Sunday morning, then partly sunny with a high at 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
65 in clouds. Next news 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Some text messages about our last segment. Amy, your cat Marshfield was the Friday special at the Golden Walk 2 years ago. Aw, that's so rude. And I did have a cat recovered after 2 years missing once. He was stolen and then left at a pound in Michigan. I drove 6 hours to get Atticus, so there's still hope.
Atticus.
Yes.
Is that To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, fair enough. Again, having some fun with the eating the cats, eating the dogs business. But as I said yesterday, it's an opportunity to captivate people's attention to the real substantive issues here with this invitation to destroy American communities, bring in and drop ship hundreds and thousands of people to small communities. Don't provide them the heads up or much resources, have these local Bolsheviks welcome them, and the residents are slow on the draw to understand what's happening around them. We're seeing this play out over and over again. Interesting that the officials we're hearing from, like that borough manager in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, talking sort of globally about immigration rather than specifically about the problem in their community for which they're charged to deal doesn't concern you? You never thought to ask, why are you sending so many people to this town of 4,000 residents who has obviously limited wherewithal to deal with an unexpected influx of people regardless of country of origin? But particularly pronounced in terms of the resource issue when, for example, most of the people that are sent do not speak English,
right,
do not have jobs. We're talking to Mike during the break about, since I mentioned Vietnamese refugees coming over to this country after the war ended in the 70s, and many who were invited to resettle in Biloxi, Mississippi because of the fishing industry there and because a lot of these people had backgrounds in the fishing industry, and then they got jobs there. They came, there were jobs available. They got jobs there. They aided the industry. They became part of the community. They assimilated, and you don't hear word one about it because that's how it's done. This has nothing to do with this false argument, the straw men that these open borders Bolsheviks erect to distract attention away from their real agenda and the real impacts of their policy. Like, some people are for immigration and other people are opposed to immigration, sort of categorically. There's nothing categorical about it.
Well, okay, we have 30,000 Ukrainian refugees here in Chicago. You don't see them with street signs saying, feed me, or them trying to sell stuff on every street corner in the city. They assimilated perfectly. I don't know if some of them had jobs. A lot of them moved in with family members.
Well, that's the point. The point is you have a process by which there is an anchor for the person coming to this country. They're coming to this country. They're vetted. Mm-hmm. They're coming to this country to be productive and law-abiding, and you have a pretty good idea that that's the case. And then there is an anchor there, a family member, a family that's a volunteer to take them in, a job in a particular industry.
Yep.
I mean, this is not that complicated. And the fact that something so straightforward can be bastardized into a discussion about race or country of origin or xenophobia shows you the rank shamelessness of this new Bolshevik party and all of its face people, like starting obviously with Kamala Harris at this juncture. It shows you how dishonest and disingenuous and disinterested in the plight of the people they're supposed to be the champions of.
And
they truly are.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Today she's going to the border to look at the problem that she and Biden created.
And when she sat down for, one of these blockbuster interviews, every time she does a one-on-one interview, it's like it's an international event. It's just so pathetic, and it speaks to the quality of the press corps and the quality of this candidate. Embedded in her boilerplate, Trump stopped comprehensive immigration or bipartisan immigration reform, blah, blah, blah. Embedded in that was not discussed. And, of course, there was no follow-up question from the MSNBC flack du jour, Stephanie Ruhle. Pathway to citizenship. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Plurals. Pathways to citizenship. Do tell. No, it's okay. You don't have to.
And we need a comprehensive plan that includes what we need to do to fortify not only our border, but deal with the fact that we also need to create pathways for people to earn citizenship.
When you say pathways for people to earn citizenship and there's no follow-up, that's not interesting to you, Stephanie Ruhle?
But they don't care.
The details of that? It should be interesting when all of these situations where people are being victimized by violent criminals in this country illegally. By the way, including other migrants, as we have said so many times before. We have yet another case, this out of Maryland. You had an individual who was released into this country and put on monitoring. Of course. And while on, it's sort of like the same way we handle violent criminals in a place like Chicago. While on electronic monitoring, in this country, allowed to come into this country illegally, came to this country illegally from El Salvador. He has now been arrested for the murder of his 19-year-old girlfriend, also a El Salvadorian migrant. So what do you have to say to the girl and her family of that El Salvadorian migrant who was murdered by someone who shouldn't have been here? And, but he's on electronic monitoring. We got a handle on it. Of course. Got a handle on it. The same way that they have a handle on the electronic, all the repeat violent offenders that are on electronic monitoring in Chicago. And you document over and over again the number of people awaiting trial on a felony who've attempted to kill or killed somebody in Chicago. It's dozens and dozens every year, all preventable crimes domestically, the indigenous population, preventable crimes globally with the population from around the world that the left has invited to be here.
There was a bloodbath in Garriston Beach, New York, on Long Island. Migrants showed up at a house party, slashed 5 people at the party, 3 women and 2 men. It was a bloodbath. And there's lots of speculation. There were people from Tren de Agua gang members.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about Tren de Aragua, sort of replaced MS-13 as the international gang of interest. New York Post had a pretty interesting profile about their footprint in New York City, talking to NYPD detectives like Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney. Not every migrant is here to commit crimes, and not every migrant is gang member. But these TDA guys, Tren de Aragua, these guys hide very well in plain sight. We aren't looking to grab the food delivery guy, but these guys go so far as to wear Uber Eats clothing, use the delivery bags while they're out there in the community committing their crimes. When we do arrest them, they're very eager to talk about the crime they have committed, but they are unwilling to talk about TDA itself. And it just goes sort of neighborhood by neighborhood with a list, with a description of how they operate, a list of their victims. It's the gang which peddles a lethal fentanyl mix called Tussie, or pink cocaine, has grown so fast that is so far overwhelmed both average New Yorkers and the city's lead police force. We are also hearing the same thing from gangbangers past and present in Chicago about the same gang. Zach Massey, who's a local Chicago gang member, it's nice to self-identify as such. I mean, there's so many problems with what you're about to hear from Zach Massey, but nonetheless, this is the reality on the streets. They be moving in our own territory and robbing people, but they don't get arrested like we do. I actually talked to one on a translator app. He told me all the things they got going, how they helped him get a car, an apartment, EBT card, all this stuff. They've given them thousands. We maybe get $400 a month, and they don't even have Social Security numbers. Why we're paying gang members, the indigenous gang members, $400 a month is a great question. I know you're thinking, but here's the point: this is the understanding of what is happening and the confrontations that are coming between gangs that are affiliated around race, like, I don't know, the Gangster Disciples, and gangs that are, and then international gangs like Tren de Aragua or MS-13. So you're just adding more to the mix, and you're creating more crimes that could have easily been prevented if you just had sensible, preemptive policies around immigration, just as we talk about having sensible, preemptive policies around repeat violent offenders in a place like Chicago.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Our text line, also the same number, and it is up and running.
Bill in Cape Coral, Florida.
Back in the 70s, after the Vietnam War and all that, a lot of Vietnamese came to Chicago, and they put them all up in the Uptown neighborhood. And they were eating the dogs there. All those stray dogs. There used to be a lot of stray dogs in the, I don't know if you remember, 70s over there, but they would cut the tails off and just throw them out the window, and then they'd throw the carcass and the flies and all that. So that's when the police were being called. But that was a normal thing. Those people eat that. And, you know, for the migrants, I don't know if any of them listen to you from California, but for all those illegals there, they're not getting a good diet. They should go into the grape orchards and eat those grapes there to get some vitamin C in them. You'll see how fast Californians won't want them around anymore.
Yeah, head up to Napa, right.
Frank, but they
Frank,
changed their ways, with the eating of the dogs.
Frank in Tinley Park.
Yeah, I believe it's payback for when we were busing the immigrants into Martha's Vineyard. All the people were laughing at the rich people, and they're getting even.
Okay, Frank.
Why don't they send Haitians to Hinsdale or to Oakbrook or to, nice suburbs around the Chicago area? Why don't they do it?
Well, I assume that's a rhetorical question.
I know.
You know the answer. Is it unclear what the answer is?
That's true. They show up at the metro station. They get a bus immediately to take them downtown.
And why do you think that is?
Deal with it because we'll take them in. We're a sanctuary city.
It's political power. Who has the political power to rest easy in spite of their hypocrisy, and who doesn't? Who has political power? The wealthy residents of Wilmette, or the 4,000 residents of Charleroi, Pennsylvania? Carl in North Lake.
As we move towards a we are the world utopia, and hear me out to the end here, and we have to let them do whatever they have, regardless of the country they come from or go to. So I'm going to India, where they don't eat cows. Prime rib, baby. T-bones, ribeyes. But look, here's the positive for India.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a feast
when you
for
call,
you out there, right? Mm-hmm.
When you call for tech support, you'll be able to understand me because I speak fluent English.
Right, you got a job waiting for you, Carl. Yeah. Oh, all right. Joe in East Dundee.
And cannot the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, just rent 30 or 40 terror buses and, drop these people off in front of the Downers Grove Library and maybe another 5,000 in front of my sister's house in Glenelg, and who was, an absolute Karen.
We'll pass her address along, Joe. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. But herein lies the rub, doesn't it? Well, why are these incidents happening in Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, and all the other communities that we've mentioned? Because the local elected officials are either on board or asleep at the switch.
Yep.
Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening.
Well, in Springfield, Ohio, they said some of the city council members are also property owners, and they'll take regular residents out of their house or tell them, your lease is up, can't rent here anymore, and then double the rent, have the Haitians come in, and the government pays for it. So they're getting a little kickback. They're making money off of this.
In St. Louis, a illegal immigrant from Honduras was arrested for killing a police officer named David Lee. It was a traffic accident. He was drunk at the time, driving without a valid license and speeding. David Lee is an African-American gentleman, or was an African-American gentleman. He's the person that's killed. So, do you want to play the race card there? Who's the racist?
Why isn't that national?
Or is it because he's a cop, so it doesn't matter that he's black? I mean, I just have some of these identitarians explain it to you. What do you want to say to David Lee's family about your silly-hearted open borders policies? That's where it's at. Listen, I just let these people around the country, particularly those who've suffered a horrific tragedy that was preventable, let them tell their stories. Get those stories out. And it's not just for Trump to do. You see them on Twitter. You read about them in alternative media, which basically means conservative media, independent media. Distribute them. Just distribute them without comment. Here's a story. Maybe this will resonate with you. Because if these stories don't resonate with that person is completely lost. Move on to the next one. Roger DeKalb.
Hey, Dan and Amy, the solution for all this is to look at the eating habits of people around the world. Europe eats a lot of horse meat. I live in DeKalb. 25 years ago, we had a horse processing plant, and the farmers all loved it because there's no way to get rid of your horses other than like pay a expensive fee to get rid of them. 98% of that meat went to Belgium and France. So the solution is you need to, let some of those nasty, disgusting third world Belgian and French people in here as immigrants. And when them turn them loose on the mean streets, McHenry and Lake County, and when their horses start disappearing, maybe it'll open some eyes.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, thanks for the call, Roger.
Different cultures eat different things.
We can put Jean-Claude Van Damme on point there with the Belgians, and then I don't know. Is Gerard Depardieu still around? I mean, he seems like a good guy that maybe can be an entree to the French.
My Filipino friend, she was just there 6 months ago, and she's having, an appetizer. And she said, what is this? It tastes a little different. They like, oh, that dog you were petting yesterday? That's what's in there. Yeah. That's what she said that, she goes, I know you probably think it's sick, but that's what they do in my culture.
Yeah, whatever. Let me try this again. The point is not to obsess about all of this, animals. The point is to take people's attention on the animals and the memes and the parody songs and so forth, and direct them to David Lee's family in St. Louis and all the other families who've been victimized. That El Salvadorian girl who was murdered by her boyfriend, who shouldn't have been in this country. Direct them to her and her family, and elevate the awareness of those people and their families and their stories. Daniel Algonquin.
Yeah, hi. The radicals never want us to have an adult conversation because then we can actually solve some of these problems, but they'd rather just blow it up and make things difficult, and that's why they're so angry at Donald Trump, because he actually gets through the noise and he focuses on, what the real issues are. He doesn't get too deep, but he does get some of the issues noticed and talked about.
He does. Thanks for the call, Daniel. I wish he would be a little bit better at pivoting to the substantive things rather than just defending the sort of provocative statements that he makes to get people focused on some of the right issues, which he does do. I mean, that's helpful, but he doesn't always sort of consummate the deal. That's my frustration with him, but, that's what we have. John in Crown Point.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I love your show.
Boy, here we go. I think speaking of where missing cats might be. All right, go ahead, John.
Hey, I have the solution to the immigration problem. Indentured servants.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm much a fan of forced labor.
We'll pass.
Larry and Bartlett.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Thank you for taking my call. I have never been called a political strategist, but it's always seemed obvious to me that the Democratic Party had two objectives with this whole thing. Number one, increase the population of their good, solid blue states, and that way they can pick up a few more votes in the House of Representatives. And then number two, going to give citizenship to all these immigrants, and then they pick up all the votes in the cities, and the Republicans never win an election again.
I think that's definitely a part of it. Thanks for the call, Larry. I mean, and remember, the blue states, it's not more electoral votes. It's to protect the ones they have because so many actual American citizens are fleeing to live in other parts of America. Please see Illinois. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, maybe the reason Kamala's going to the border is she's going to give a speech about fast-tracking dreamers into voters.
Thanks for the call, George. Just the point about Aurora, Colorado, because we haven't visited there in a minute. That situation is getting more pronounced with those Venezuelan gang members that you're hearing talked about by people on the street, both police and other gang members in big cities like Chicago and New York. Well, they famously now took over some apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, and the mayor was sort of throwing up his hands like there's nothing he could do about it. Well, there have been some arrests made.
Here's what we're learning from ICE. So take a look at your screen. This is Naudi Lopez Fernandez. He's 21 years old, and he is a citizen of Venezuela. ICE confirms that he did enter the U.S. illegally last year, and since then has been arrested for criminal behavior 4 times in Colorado and in Kansas. He was encountered by U.S. Border Patrol last year near Eagle Pass, was arrested, and then later released. He is in ICE custody tonight. And you take a look here. This is Nafred Zerpak Acosta. He's 20 years old and is also a citizen of Venezuela. He's been in the U.S. at least 2 years now and was encountered by Border Patrol in Texas back in 2022, arrested and then later released. He was facing local charges in Larimer and Douglas counties, with an immigration judge ordering Zerpa to be removed back in May, and then he was placed under supervision. Now, unlike those other 2 suspects we just went over who do have criminal histories and have been arrested, ICE does not have any information on this man, Anderson Zambrano Pacheco. However, he is still one of the suspects identified in that viral video. All 3 of these men are facing felony charges tonight. So let's get into that viral video. It shows armed men forcing their way into an Aurora apartment. APD now confirms it's actually connected to a deadly shooting that happened 10 minutes after this video was recorded. This has really taken the nation by storm right now, as immigration has become a hot button issue during the election season.
Yeah, because it's associated with organized crime, organized violent crime. So you can understand why people are a little persnickety about that, and they should be. And this is, again, J.D. Vance's opportunity to do what Trump is not good at doing on Tuesday night, which is to provide details and remain focused and just tell Tim Walz, Field Marshal Tim, what do you have to say to the residents of Aurora, Colorado? What do you have to say to David Lee's family in St. Louis? What do you have to say to the gentleman in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, who's leaving and taking his kid out of school there? What do you have to say over and over again, just one story after the other? The mom from Springfield, Ohio, who talked about how her mother-in-law was killed, run down by a Haitian migrant. Again, it's not about the country of origin. It's about the general lawlessness that you platform, that you run interference for. And the Americans around the country, I don't know if they're affiliated with my party or not, but I know they want answers because they're showing up to their town council meetings. What do you have to say to them, Tim? What do you have to say to them on behalf of your running mate, Kamala Harris? What do you have to say? Hear their stories. You know them. They're well documented. Margaret Brennan can try and fact check me all that she wants. It's all over the place. So tell us what you have to say to them. It needs to get pinned down.
Right between his eyes. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk about the other pressing issue area, and that's, of course, the cost of living in this country. Scott the Cow Guy Shellady joins us 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6:34, 66 degrees and clouds. Helene is now a tropical storm, but it's still dangerous. Meteorologist Angie Lasman.
The state of Florida, we're really going to see things get better and, of course, quieter in time to assess the damage of what they dealt with yesterday into the overnight hours and into early this morning. But places like the southeast, Georgia, stretching into the Carolinas, that's where things are just starting to ramp up.
Forecasters say tornadoes are possible this morning in eastern Georgia, the Carolinas, and southern Virginia. Chief Financial Officer for the state of Florida, Jimmy Petronas, saying they had to be extra prepared because there was a lot of uncertainty about this storm.
We brought about twice the number of personnel in place of urban search and rescue teams because of the size of this storm.
After making landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, Thursday night, Helene leaves behind about 2 million without power. Donald Trump set to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as tensions have been rising between the two over how to defend the country in its war against Russia.
It's not a surrender. What my strategy is to save lives. I want to save lives. Millions of people are dead. Millions more than they even think about. And it's not my fight, but it is a fight to save humanity.
Zelensky met with Vice President Kamala Harris in her ceremonial office.
We have to keep pressure on Russia to stop the war and to make truly lasting and just peace. It's a top priority for us and for other freedom-loving nations.
Vice President Harris is scheduled to visit the southern border today, while New York City Mayor Eric Adams could make his initial court appearance on charges that he accepted illegal campaign contributions and free overseas trips from Turkish government officials and others looking to buy his influence.
We cannot ignore the shadow cast by moments like this. When trust is eroded, it takes years, sometimes decades, to rebuild.
The FBI's James Dennehy. An extensive search is underway near a hotel in Lombard this morning. Workers at the Extended Stay America say first responders are searching for a child that was a guest at that hotel. Lombard police and fire are searching a pond next to the hotel. 3 and 2 different vehicles were wounded by drive-by gunfire in the Grand Crossing neighborhood late last night. Shooting took place in the 7500 block of South Stony Island. White Sox just keep on winning and evading being on the wrong side of history after shutting out the Angels 7-0 to sweep their 3-game series at guaranteed rate. They move on to take on the Tigers tonight, while the Cubs begin their final series of 2024 hosting the Reds at Wrigley. The Sky in the market for a new head coach, firing Hall of Famer Teresa Weatherspoon. The news is a service of Valdecas Windows for discerning homeowners looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the Salem Podcast Network.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
I've actually taken the bottles up to him, and my doctor, he tells me, keep doing it.
I am 87 years old, and I am an RN, and my PhD work is in anatomy and physiology. I watched your advertisement on TV, and I thought, I'll try it for just a month. I have stayed on it. Just think it is a marvelous product.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Israel has been on the receiving end of more than 10,000 incoming rockets, drones, and missiles since October 8th of last year, when Hezbollah, unprovoked, began its war against Israel in the north of Israel. The Biden-Harris Middle East policy is in flames, as is the region. All that Vice President Harris can say about Israel and Hamas is, we must get a deal done. What former President Trump has said consistently is that Israel needs to win, and fast. Trump, of course, ran the maximum pressure campaign against Tehran, which had nearly bankrupted that regime, until Biden and Harris ended that campaign and began not only to ease sanctions, but unfroze billions in Iranian assets. Ayatollah Khamenei wants no part of Trump 2.0. The mullahs are clearly hoping for a Harris-Walz win. Americans ought to think about the national security and peace through strength. The choice is clear. Donald Trump.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do. Bring your ideas to life at Dell.com.
641. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is service of ExpressPros.com. Hire with Express Employment professionals. With contract and full-time workers from Express Employment, you get the staff you need and manage contingent labor costs. Learn more at ExpressPros.com, ExpressPros.com. Eden's at 30 minutes, Lake Hook Road into the junction. The Kennedy setting up at an hour right now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 42, 390 into the old post office. Watch out for delays on the Stevens and Harlem to Kedzie, 48 Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. A windy day ahead, clouds and sunshine. High 73 tonight. Windy and mild, low 62. Cloudy and 67 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, again, Kamala sat down for the seminal one-on-one with Stephanie Ruhle from MSNBC to be prompted with softball questions that she could respond, so she could respond with her boilerplate answers.
I mean, these things are painful to watch.
She's wonderful at taking a favorite vocabulary word from corporate speak and just sort of rinsing and repeating it to sound intelligent, like she knows when she's talking about when she's doing a deep policy dive on matters like housing policy.
And assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars. And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing. And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
The best kind of planning is holistic planning. I always say affordable housing means ghettoization, just to translate it. Affordable housing is what BLM Brandon wants to do in the financial district for all those with all those vacant commercial offices. On tax policy, more deep thinking.
But we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to raise
corporate taxes.
We're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share. And it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
Forgetting that none of that's true, just it's unsurprising, of course, but it would be nice not to talk to Kamala Harris and not to sort of bitch in the direction of the comm shop for the Bolshevik Party, which is Stephanie Ruhle and all her friends at MSNBC and the rest of these corporate media outlets. But just to challenge your friends when they repeat those talking points, or people in your circles of influence, when they repeat the pay their fair share, the follow-up questions that are never asked, holistic housing policy, affordable housing, the follow-up questions that are never asked. It's fascinating. Sounds interesting. Explain it in detail.
Please, yeah. What does that mean?
So fair share is what number? See if they even know the number that Kamala has proposed. And, okay, so that's the fair share number. How did you arrive at it? How is it not 1 percentage point more or 1 percentage point less? Just give us the math. Give us the holistic, if I could borrow a word, thinking that brought you to that conclusion. In other words, embarrass people for what they don't know, while they repeat can't from politicians who also don't know the meaning of the words they're using. It's the best you can do, but it's a start. It's something. It's not nothing. Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report. 10:30 to 1, and the Cow Guy closed 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. By the way, you could do the same thing if you go on like CNBC and have to talk to Aaron Ross Sorkin. You can do the same thing with your average man on the street. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Holistic housing is really meant for, what she means is it's for the children of the community. Because it's for the children of the community.
No,
because there's people in the community that have children that are in the community.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott?
We have to be unburdened by the housing policy that's been. I got it. Yeah, so the fair share argument, that's a novel one. We never hear that except every election cycle. The millionaires and billionaires not paying their fair share, and this is why you need a 33% increase in the corporate tax rate.
Well, it's because when you really look at what the upper 1% pays in taxes, I think it's like 40% of the tax burden falls on 1% of the tax of the population.
So unfair to those not paying taxes. Yeah, so unfair.
Right. And yeah, there's some people at the bottom end, they get more out of the government than they put in. So how much more do you want the upper 1% to pay? They already pay 40%. That's number one. And you're right, they'll never put a number on it because they always want that number. They always want your fair share to be a movable object. The goalpost can't actually ever be settled. And I don't know why people fall for it, but this is another one they play games with, the difference between earned income and investment income, right? Earned income gets taxed at the normal tax rates that everybody knows and looks at when they look at their tax book. But investment income gets taxed because you're taking a risk. So you get more of the money that you make when you take a risk because you could have actually lost the money. As an employee, you're not going to lose money by going to work. But Leon Cooperman can lose money going to work. So if he gets a better tax break because he's taking money and trying to make something with it, that's earned income. That's going to turn into capital gains. But they never tell you the difference between the two. And that's what gets me mad about that. Warren Buffett pays less in taxes than his secretary. Yeah, because he can lose a lot more. That's all. And that's the difference. People fall for it every time. Earned income versus investment income, two totally different tax rates.
Scott, all I have to say to that is we ain't going back. We ain't.
to when I first started 4 years ago? I don't even know how this gets pulled over on the country. She's running against herself, and nobody will say it. It's frustrating. At least Trump's trying to do something about that. But how are they trying to frame the election as he's been in office up until today? I'll never understand how the American public falls for that. I really don't. And all the people that are on the left side of the aisle, all the people on the left, they hated, they couldn't stand her 10 weeks ago, and now she's the second coming. It's embarrassing.
Speaking of a holistic housing policy, some shocking news out of Argentina I wanted you to comment on. The 2020 rental law enacted under former Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez protected tenants by mandating 3-year lease terms, requiring rent to be paid in pesos, a currency that was rapidly losing value due to, triple and quadruple digit inflation. Rent adjustments were limited to once a year based on a central bank rate that factored in inflation and wage growth. The law also allowed tenants to dictate the conditions for lease termination, which is nice if you're a tenant. The incumbent president, though, Javier Milei, has a bit of a different approach. He repealed those rent control laws late last year upon taking office. And now we're seeing in Argentina, incredibly, counterintuitively to listen to the political class in this country talk, especially big city America, what's happened since he repealed those rental control laws is the housing supply has increased and rents have stabilized. What a stunning reversal. Scott, can you explain that for us?
Well, I'll put the numbers to it, Dan. I actually did this on my show this week. The amount of available housing went up by 170%. A bunch of landlords started putting their rental units back on the market. And the rents, if you index them against inflation, have come down like 40%. nominally they're a little bit higher, but they have so much inflation in Argentina that a lot of these people are seeing rent deals that they haven't seen in years. So it's fantastically successful because he took the brakes off. He took those, and you know what? What are the two biggest rent controlled places in America? New York and San Francisco. Where are the two most expensive places to live in America? New York and San Francisco. You'd think that people could put two and two together, but apparently they can't. And for an Argentinian like Javier Milei to put this idea in place, and all he did was take back the regulations and let the free market take over, I mean, maybe we should learn a lesson and try that here.
Well, what about you get $25,000 and you get $25,000 if you want to buy a home for the first time? How is that going to affect the market?
It's intellectually embarrassing. All she's done is raise the price by housing of $25,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like student loans. All they've done is raise the price of college. I mean, this is actually fool's gold. I mean, I don't understand why people can even fall for it. But
Wait, no. What about more important than that is since we have a housing supply shortage, available houses on the market, public-private partnership at the federal level to build 3 million new homes, Scott.
Yep.
It's exciting.
You know what I hear when I hear that? I hear $7 billion for 7 charging stations. Is what I hear when I hear that.
I wanted to get your reaction to this too. I mean, just thinking about the cost of living. This is an important issue, and of course, Kamala has an answer to it. It's something about being aspirational, and she's going to do something generic about it. We're not exactly sure, but she's very, very concerned about it. A survey finding that majority of Americans saying they would need to make $100,000 a year to feel comfortable that they could make ends meet, that they could pay their bills and the mounting costs of things like energy. $100,000 a year, I mean, that may not sound like a lot to a lot of people, but that's a pretty big increase that the median American is suggesting they need when household incomes, what's the median household income in this country, 65, 66 grand?
Yeah, I mean, over the last, 5 years, housing costs have gone up by almost 50%, Dan. And then you throw in childcare and rearing a preschool kid, those costs have gone up by 25. No, actually, it's costing you 50% of your of the median household income to pay for your housing, and it's costing 25% of your median household income to pay to rear your children for childcare and getting them going. Those are staggering numbers. That's why the number's $100,000, and that's leaving a lot of people behind. Plus, everybody knows the story about your wages have not kept up with inflation.
Right. And
all these problems, a lot of them have been caused by inflation, which was started with this administration. When they took over, it was 1.4%. So I don't know. The numbers don't lie, but for some reason, people continue to ignore them.
All I know is, again, I know this from Kamala, is that Bidenomics is working. So that's the depth of my thinking on it.
She cast the deciding vote.
John Deere got a scolding from Trump this week with their prospective decision to move some manufacturing facilities to Mexico. And Trump threatened them with a 200% tariff on goods produced in Mexico that they try to sell in the U.S. As somebody in the, spent a lot of time in agribusiness, what's your reaction to that?
I don't like that they're taking their business abroad. Absolutely. Maybe he could have done it in a more tactful way, but that's just the way he works. If he needs to sit down with them and tell them that this is a bad idea and this is what we're going to do if you do it. But, it's a good old, well, you know what? And to be fair, John Deere, and they were one of those companies that went real woke too. So,
yeah. True. They also cut a contract with the United Auto Workers that included a 30% raise over 6 years too, which and $8,500 signing bonuses, which is a pretty rich deal, all things considered.
Well, that's what I think. I feel bad for these port guys. I think they're a little late to the table. They should have done it when all the guys did it with all the automobile people. But anyway, yeah, I think I don't like anybody taking business abroad. I think Donald Trump's done a great job of bringing business back home. He probably could have had a personal conversation with him, but that's his way of doing what he does.
Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1, and the Cow Guy Close 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks as always.
All right, brother. Have a great weekend.
All right, see you, Scott. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it, and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
I've actually taken the bottles up to him, and my doctor, he tells me, keep doing it.
I am 87 years old, and I am an RN, and my PhD work is in anatomy and physiology. I watched your advertisement on TV, and I thought, I'll try it for just a month. I have stayed on it. Just think it is a marvelous product.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's Jeep Adventure Days, and Bettenhausen Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram on 159th Street in Tinley Park has your ticket to anywhere. Hurry into Bettenhausen and get huge savings off MSRP on a new Grand Cherokee, Jeep Wrangler, or Jeep Gladiator. Bettenhausen has big savings on a new Ram 1500 or new Chrysler Pacifica. Bettenhausen has the Midwest's best selection. Choose from over 900 vehicles with no hassle and no haggle. Showroom never closes at BettenhausenCDJR.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. Since 1969, we've been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows. From modern to traditional styles, Marvin replacement windows and doors can bring your backyard right into your living space. Make your home feel brighter and more spacious. Our professional services, along with the best products like Marvin, are why we're proud of our 5-star reviews. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door experts in Chicagoland. Need new windows now? Buy now, pay later with 0% financing for 18 months. Terms and conditions apply. Visit woodlandwindows.com and schedule an appointment today. That's woodlandwindows.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we'll preview Tuesday's VP debate. That's CBS, Margaret Brennan. And ask Brett Baier if there's still any possibility of another Kamala Trump face-off. That's 7:07.
Yeah, because Mediaite was reporting that Kamala's in, but Trump is not. So we'll start there with Brett Baier. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Chicago Board of Education votes to ban school closures, a triple shooting in the South Shore, and the White Sox keep on winning. WIND Chicago News Times, 7 o'clock.
The strongest storm ever to hit Florida's Big Bend. On Jack Callahan, Fox News, Helene was Category 4 when she crashed into the Florida coast southeast of Tallahassee last night.
It was absolutely incredible and unfortunately very destructive as well. The highest wind gusts, because the wind's also bringing down numerous trees and power lines here in the state of Florida. Over 1 million residents without power this morning.
Fox Weather's Michael estimate at least 3 people have died in the storm, 1 in Florida, 2 more in Georgia. Helene has now been downgraded to a tropical storm. The storm surge combined with the heavy rainfall now making it a flooding event. Flash flood warnings stretch from northern Florida into western North Carolina. Fox weather meteorologist Bob Van Dillen interrupted a live shot in Georgia on Fox and Friends this morning. When he heard a woman screaming for help, he rescued her from her submerged car.
She was still strapped into her car, and the water's actually rising and getting up into the car itself. So she was about, almost neck deep.
Van Dillen carried her to safety. She's okay. Vice President Harris headed to the battleground state of Arizona today in the border town of Douglas.
She is expected to give details on her proposal to send new agents to the border, as well as new technology to stem the flow of fentanyl. Douglas is Arizona's second largest port of entry along the southern border.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers, former President Trump telling a news conference in New York yesterday the trip is a waste of money.
She should go back to the White House and tell the president to close the border. He can do it with the signing of a of just a signature on a piece of paper to the Border Patrol.
The Trump campaign moving a planned outdoor rally scheduled for Wisconsin tomorrow indoors at the request of the Secret Service over staffing shortages because of the UN General Assembly. President Biden signing an executive order yesterday creating a task force to study and find solutions to gun violence. America is listening to Fox News.
Clouds and 66 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. A beach hazard warning is up for the Illinois lakefront of Lake Michigan and the dunes of northwest Indiana. An extensive search is underway near a hotel in Lombard this morning. Hotel workers at the Extended Stay America say first responders are searching for a child that was a guest at that hotel. Lombard police and fire, including divers, are searching a pond next to the hotel. 3 different people in 2 different vehicles were wounded by drive-by gunfire in the Grand Crossing neighborhood late last night. The shooting took place in the 7500 block of South Stony Island. A 23 and 25-year-old, 23-year-old man and 25-year-old man were transported in critical condition to the University of Chicago Medical Center. Chicago Board of Education putting a ban on school closures for the near future and not talking about forcing out their CEO.
And won't discuss confidential or personnel matters publicly.
The board voting last night to approve a resolution that would halt any school closures until the end of the 2026-27 school year.
To put this issue to rest once and for all, I'm asking the board to adopt a resolution today clearly stating that CPS will not close or consolidate any schools before the fully elected school board is in place in January 2027.
CEO Pedro Martinez, Illinois' unemployment rate is now more than 1% higher than the national rate, but Governor J.B. Pritzker continues to claim things are getting better.
Jobs are going up, unemployment is coming down. That's great for the state.
The August jobless rate for the state was 5.3%, tied with California for second highest in the nation. And the Illinois Supreme Court has denied Cook County's request for an appeal of a case challenging the county's gun and ammo tax. In 2012, Cook County approved a tax of $25 per gun, 1 to 5 cents per cartridge of ammunition. Initial challenges went to the Illinois Supreme Court, which in 2021 ruled against the county. County then modified the ordinance. White Sox continue to evade being on the wrong side of baseball history. They shut out the Angels yesterday 7-0, sweeping their 3-game series at guaranteed rate and head to face the Tigers next in Detroit. Cubs begin their final series of 2024 hosting the Reds. Former Bull Derrick Rose retired yesterday after 16 NBA seasons, and the Blackhawks take on the Red Wings tonight. The news, a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Ad Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. Experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago with over $800 million in sales. You'll get the most value for your home. 708-828-0000. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio, every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Executive Green Carpet Cleaning, and by Valdecast Windows and Doors. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Hey guys.
guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
As long as we are proud of who we are and what we are fighting for, there is nothing we cannot achieve. As long as we have confidence in our values, faith in our citizens, and trust in our God, we will never fail. Our families will thrive, our people will prosper, and our nation will forever be safe and strong and proud and mighty and free. Thank you, and God bless America.
This moment in American history has been brought to you by Earthworks. Learn more at earthworksinc.com.
.708. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com and use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, offer ends soon. Kennedy at 53 inbound. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. 41 back out to the big airport. Accident. I-55 northbound. Right between Route 59 and US 52. Watching delays on the Dan Ryan in the express lanes inbound between 43rd and the Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
It'll be windy today with some clouds and sunshine. High today at 73. Cloudy, windy, mild tonight, low 62. And then clouds and breezy. Shower tomorrow, the high 70. Breezy Sunday morning and then a partly sunny afternoon, the high 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
67 at O'Hare. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Boy, I sure am glad that the Democrats, so-called Democrats, new Bolsheviks, I'm sure glad they haven't listened to Rui Teixeira, who I mentioned before, his Substack, or his blog, I guess, liberalpatriot.com. I mean, he's a man of the left. He's an academic. But he focuses on reality, political reality, electoral reality. And he does some pretty good analysis of where the electorate is and who the electorate is. And he's had some recommendations for the Biden-Harris administration over the last couple of years on appealing to working-class voters in particular that they have dutifully ignored, and it's inured to Trump's benefit. And the sort of Kamala government-centric, three-tiered or three-pedestaled economic plan of subsidies and price controls and tax increases. It's just not compelling. It comes across as just as disingenuous as it is because they don't really have a command of what they're suggesting. Let me give you an example. I'm not even talking about Kamala's word salads. I'm talking about instance like this with a Kamala surrogate on Fox talking about the grand economic vision of one Kamala Harris and having this to say when politely challenged, really,
by Sandra Smith
on price gouging, the price gouging allegations, or gauging, as Kamala might say, that they have been leveling against big grocery for the last several weeks.
What is Harris's plan? We're waiting.
Yeah, okay, there's a lot of aspects to it in regards to looking at it online. So let's talk about lowering the grocery costs because that's something that's brought up. The viewers can look at this online. She talks about certain things in regards to advancing the first federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries, to set clear rules to the road to make it clear that big corporations can't unfairly exploit consumers as well.
Is that
and
happening?
Secure new
Is that happening?
It's not at this moment. No, this is her plan that's laid out for the first 100 days when she becomes president of the United States of America.
Is that currently happening?
In regards to I don't know exactly if that's currently happening or not because I'm not privy to that type of information. Okay. But there are people are costing a lot of money.
Somebody's getting a little angry there, a little agitated.
You don't know if it's happening, so then your plan is a solution in search of a problem? If you don't know it's happening, then why are you proposing something that may or may not address what you suggest is a problem? This is where the college-educated run into the common sense of the working man and woman. Trump carried working-class voters by 4 points, but lost college-educated voters by 18 points. The education gap was 22. By contrast, in 2012, it was a mere 3 points. But here's what's happening with the Democrats, as we've been talking about. They're losing non-white working-class voters. For example, Kamala has a 24-point lead among non-white working-class voters. In 2020, Biden won that cohort by 49 points. So it is happening, and I think some people recognize it, but perhaps the punditry does not. Something else, too, just in terms of the composition of the electorate. Again, this is Rui Teixeira's analysis over at the Liberal Patriot. Around 2/3 of the eligible voters are non-college educated. And actual voters turns out to be around 60%. In the 7 key swing states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the working class share of the electorate, this is the real divide here is not racial. It's college education and not college education. In those 7 key swing states, both as eligible voters as well as projected 2024 voters, that percentage is higher than the national average, higher than 60%. So Trump is losing ground among college-educated voters, but gaining ground among working-class voters, non-college-educated voters, and non-college-educated voters are the supermajority of the electorate. So this is why, in part, despite some missed opportunities, still feel that Trump is well poised to win this election. For more on all of this, pleased to be joined by Brett Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, best-selling author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment, as well as the History Club, Duel Across Time. Brett, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Do you think that the Kamala team understands those demographics that Rui Teixeira is discussing?
No, I don't. And I don't think their plan so far has backed up going after those demographics. Listen, the debate, there was a lot of analysis that she did really well, that she was, and on the left, it was like a parade that she really slammed Trump. But in the post-analysis, since the debate, swing state polls have moved 0.3 points toward Trump, not the other way. And so we've watched this really closely. And this race is essentially tied in a lot of different places. But if it's tied, oftentimes, the former president is undercounted by a couple points in the way we poll, even if there's a weighted, since 2016, they've tried to weight polls to get the shy Trump voter, but they haven't fully been able to do it.
It just seems to me, to sort of summarize what Teixeira is laying out, that Trump is selling to the masses and Kamala is selling to the classes, and that's advantage Trump.
Yeah, listen, if you get working class, if what we heard from the Teamsters in their internal polling around the country was correct, which was that Trump was winning overwhelmingly, and that's why they chose not to endorse. The leadership wasn't ready to endorse Trump, but the workers in their polling internally were at about 60%. So if that's true, it's to your point. He's becoming a working class, pitch.
The Tuesday night debate, CBS, the host, Vance and Waltz. Your perspective on the debate performance of the moderators for ABC, your expectations for CBS, and then anything you can tell us about the possibility that you can still somehow engineer a Trump-Harris rematch. Yeah.
Well, I'll start the end first. The other day I said, it might happen if Trump agrees, because the Harris people at least are signaling that. I think he's not down that road. He's not ready to go down that road. He doesn't want to. His people don't really want to. I think dueling town hall is much more possible. We'll see about that.
Well,
as far as what's that?
No, I'm sorry. Well, they are having one on Univision, but one October 8th and then the other October 10th. So we're just trying to get them in the same room, right?
Yeah, I think so. Listen, a debate would be great. I think that that's the only time that you're going to really get that amount of viewers, 70 million plus viewers all at one event. So, we're still, hope springs eternal, but I think it's less likely now. To your first question, yeah, listen, if you're going to go down the correct and jump in lane, you've got to do it both ways. It's got to be equal. And, people say, well, there's so much more to correct with the former president. I don't know. I found there were a lot of things that the vice president said that could have been corrected in that debate. So I think the CBS anchors who I know, Norah O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan, are probably going to go towards the Jake Tapper, Dana Bash model, which I think is good. Let the candidates do the fact-checking, give them time, be equal, and try not to be the story. And that's the biggest thing.
With respect to Team Trump's reticence to do another debate, what's your sense of it in terms of the why? Is it just simply they just don't see it in their political interest to do so?
Yeah, I think that they sense that there's an effort on the Harris campaign because they look at their internal polls and realize they need another moment. And the Trump people are not that way. He's essentially saying he did 2 debates already with Biden and with Harris. And, I think there's a slight chance, a slight window. I just don't think it's heading that direction.
But you stand by what you said on the Hugh Hewitt show that you believe the Harris campaign would do the Fox debate, but Trump is the holdup right now.
No, I stand by the fact that the Harris campaign would likely do, I believe, if Trump agreed to a debate, that the Harris people would do it because they want to do it that bad. That's essentially, what I said.
Right. They can't have all the home games. They have to go to different networks, not all ABC and CNN.
Yeah. Well, what about if you can't get Trump and Kamala, what about Doug and Melania?
There you go. That would be good. The
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
And he
I
can
like
wear a
that.
straw behind his ear because that's a pet peeve of Kamala's. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I mean,
Melania could pitch her new book that's coming out.
No, Doug could talk about combating toxic masculinity, and Melania could represent femininity and see what America likes.
I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so it's not been a particularly good week for Secret Service again, or FBI for that matter again. And we get this word from the D.C. press corps that Trump's campaign scrapped plans for an outdoor rally in Wisconsin after Secret Service said it did not have the personnel needed to secure the site.
They're at the UN.
So I'm sorry. So now the administration, the Secret Service, and the acting director, these are administration personnel, are altering the schedule of their challenger. That seems a little problematic. I know he's going to be in Butler on October 5th for his triumphant return, and hopefully that the required personnel will be present and accounted for. But I mean, I struggle to understand exactly what Secret Service and what this administration vis-a-vis Secret Service thinks they're doing with respect to their political opponent.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, right after saying that he has presidential level protection, they said that you can't be outside, and we can't do that because of numbers after the United Nations. I mean, they don't say that when the president's going someplace. They don't say that when there are big events, and to be after 2 assassination attempts and then put that out is really quite something.
Well, Kamala's going to be at the border today. I mean, she can go outside and roam freely.
There's big issues here with the Secret Service, and I think we're going to find out just how bad. Already that Senate report is pretty egregious.
Yeah. I know. We've talked to Susan Crabtree over at RealClearPolitics.com, too. I mean, who's been documenting some of the internal problems in Secret Service that haven't risen to this level for a long time, but it's sort of fruit of the poisonous tree. All these internal problems that have been reported on over the last several years now metastasize, and you have them sort of the incompetence that was documented in that Senate committee report manifesting itself in a former president almost being killed. And also, too, I mean, arguments over a potential breach with respect to Obama's Secret Service detail, too. I mean, it seems like here we go again, talking about another agency with awesome law enforcement power that doesn't seem to be quite up for the job.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you're in the middle of this, and what has been briefed and confirmed, a real threat from Iran. A real threat from Iran to kill the former president, to kill the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, to kill Brian Hook, a senior advisor in state, to kill John Bolton. This is real. They all know it's real. And yet the administration, to the former president's point, and in President Biden, has not spoken out and said, Iran, if you do anything, if you touch a hair on any of these guys' heads, there will be consequences. Don't. How about say don't, just publicly? He hasn't done that. And the fact that Iran is in the midst of doing what it's doing is really amazing while we're having the Secret Service failure.
Well, not to mention that the only statement they are issuing in the direction of Iran is to sort of with these other some other Western European allies is to say, hey, let's tamp down the coarse words Israel vis-a-vis Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy, of course, terrorist organization. I mean, they're again sort of demonstrating, and it's not just the United States, but it's the United States is leading a demonstration of weakness in the face of the Iranian threat vis-a-vis Hezbollah, vis-a-vis Hamas, with respect to supposedly our singular ally in the Middle East.
Yeah, and it's not like Hezbollah or Hamas are changing their stripes. I mean, they're pledging the continued attack on Israel with the help and funding of Iran. All this money flows one way to all their terrorist proxies, and we, in part, have opened that spigot.
Brett Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, 5 p.m. Chicago time during the week. Best-selling author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment, as well as the History Club, Duel Across Time. Brett, thank you as always.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. From Steve Bannon and War Room Films comes the explosive movie, Government Gangsters. Donald Trump called it a must-see movie.
Government gangsters are the group of individuals, career bureaucrats, installed by the deep state into every agency and department in the United States government.
Based on the best-selling book by former Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Kash Patel, it exposes the daily deceit and manipulation of the deep state, how they operate, and how they try to bring down Donald J. Trump and his supporters.
From Russiagate to Hunter Biden's laptop, January 6th to the 51 Intel letter and everything in between. These people are dangerous and vindictive, perfecting ways to hide their corruption.
Government Gangsters is not just a film. It's a revelation that will forever alter your perception of government. Learn the truth about the deep state.
It is finally time for a straightforward assessment of the state of our nation.
Don't miss Government Gangsters. Watch it now on salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep is a great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. And the result is the boys love Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep has been educating boys for nearly 50 years, and one of the things that stands out is their commitment to partnering with parents. You hear this a lot with schools, but at Northridge, parents can't stop talking about it because it's authentic. They built a community that really works together. Raising kids is difficult these days, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path. They're having an open house on Sunday, October 20th, for boys in grades 6 through 12. If you're interested in considering Northridge for your son, register today at northridgeprep.org. Again, that's open house is Sunday, October 20th, and you can register at northridgeprep.org.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers, this one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Vestuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I love the product because I'm already here at almost 80 knocking on my door. When I started taking Balance of Nature, I'm telling you, it wasn't a month after that, maybe 2 months after that, I started really feeling the difference.
I love Balance of Nature. I will take it to the day I die. It's wonderful. I feel so much better. I'm telling everybody about it. And I just feel better. I mean, it's just amazing how much better I feel on this stuff. I got excited about the product because I started feeling better. They asked me, does it work? I said, yes, it works. You got to try it. It will work.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, New York Post columnist Miranda Devine joins us to discuss her new book, The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. I wonder what knowledge did Kamala Harris have about Biden Incorporated? Another question that hasn't been asked to Kamala Harris. What did she know about all of the far-flung business interests of Hunter Biden and all of the Biden beneficiaries? We'll start there with Miranda Devine at 7:37.
And when did she know it? But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
66 degrees, clouds at 7:32. Helene, a tropical storm now. The former hurricane still has maximum sustained winds of 60 miles an hour as it rolls across northern Georgia. Fox Weather's senior meteorologist Janice Dean.
Catastrophic flooding is happening in the Atlanta, Georgia area. We had Bob Van Dillen, of course, on the scene with a woman that couldn't cross the water. She was screaming, and Bob, took off his gear and said he's going to go try to help. This is what's happening right now in one of the biggest cities in Georgia, a flash flood emergency, meaning that they can't handle the water. It is coming so fast and furious, and this is very concerning because this is the type of scenario that we're going to see not only in Georgia, but it's also happening in the Carolinas.
The storm has killed at least 3 since making landfall, and as Janice Dean said, the National Hurricane Center has issued a flash flood emergency for Metro Atlanta this morning. About 2 million customers are without power. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Arizona today for a trip to the U.S.-Mexico border in the town of Douglas. Workers at ports from Maine to Texas preparing to walk off the job. Could be one of the most disruptive walkouts to the U.S. economy and supply chain in decades. The Oakland A's have played their final game at Oakland Coliseum.
You could feel the love for every one of us in this uniform representing this city of Oakland, and they were grateful.
That's skipper Mark Kotze after 4 modern-day World Series titles, including 3 in a row in 1972, 3, and 4. Baseball is relocating the franchise to Sacramento next season, where they will play temporarily until they move into a permanent home in Las Vegas. An extensive search was started early this morning near a hotel in Lombard. A hotel worker at the Extended Stay America in the 200 block of East 22nd said first responders arrived early this morning searching for a child that was a guest at the hotel. Divers were searching a pond next to the hotel when they received word just a few minutes ago that the 2-year-old girl has been found safe after that search. 3 people in 2 different vehicles wounded in drive-by gunfire in the Grand Crossing neighborhood late last night. It all happened in the 7500 block of South Stony Island. And you've heard us talk this morning about John Deere responding to former President Donald Trump and a threat made to impose tariffs if the Moline-based ag giant moved their manufacturing business to Mexico. Of course, the former president said he would put a 200% tariff on everything they sell in the U.S. The company says this morning they are not moving production to Mexico, but are strategically leveraging their footprint in that country. White Sox continue to win and evade the wrong side of history, shutting out the Angels 7-0, sweeping their 3-game series at Guaranteed Rate Field. The win to Chris Flexen. Garrett Crochet starts for the Southsiders against the Tigers later tonight. Cubs begin their final series of 2024 They host the Reds at Wrigley, and the Blackhawks look for their first preseason win when they visit the Red Wings in Detroit. The news service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you. 56david.com, 855-563-2843. Lower.com equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The two things that hit every family's budget the hardest are the price of gas and the price of groceries. And for the past few years, we've all been feeling that pain. That's why AM 560 wants to help fill your gas tank and your pantry. It's our gas and groceries giveaway contest. You could win up to $10,000 in gift cards for gas and groceries. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/contest. That's 560theanswer.com/contest.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
Exercise and a healthy diet can help, but that can be hard, especially as we start to get older. It's like the choice between taking the stairs or waiting for the elevator. Sometimes the easier option can be tempting. But just like choosing to take the stairs, you can choose to get a variety of 31 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Balance of Nature supplements are formulated from the best ingredients available, and it's as easy as taking 3 fruits and 3 veggies capsules every day. It's a small commitment, but it can help you feel your best. Start your journey with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
7:40 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And an even 1 hour right now on your inbound commute on the Kennedy from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays on the Kennedy outbound Montrose out to Harlem. I-55 accident. Left lane is blocked on the northbound side. That accident stuck between Route 59 and 52. Inbound Stevenson jams up Harlem to Kedzie due to an earlier accident. 46 all the way in to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive slowdowns, roadwork problems at repaving project southbound between Montrose and Fullerton Parkway. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Windy, clouds and sunshine, high 73. Windy and mild, 62 overnight. Clouds and 67 at O'Hare, 62 in Aurora, 64 in Kankakee, and 67 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the 5-count indictment against New York City Mayor Eric Adams revealed yesterday. Count 1, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and to receive campaign contributions from a foreign national. Count 2, wire fraud. Count 3, solicitation of contribution by a foreign national. Count 4, solicitation of contribution by a foreign national. Count 5, bribery. And I know there's been a lot of focus, including by some conservatives of sorts, that this is, all because he dared to criticize the big guy when it came to the open borders policies. And this clip that's circulating from a couple of years back.
Support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City.
Yeah, and he goes on about the migrants that were being shipped up from the border to New York City. Here's the problem. Not to say that there are non-political elements to the prosecutorial discretion in matters like this. Number one, Eric Adams is a charlatan. He wasn't like he was opposed to the open borders policy. He was opposed to the open borders policy where he had to come up with the resources to support all the people being dropped off in New York City.
It's a sanctuary city.
He didn't propose repealing the sanctuary city designation.
So he brought it upon himself.
He continued. He just said, we need more money. We need more money. We need more money. He was about authentic on immigration as handsy Andy Cuomo was on COVID. That's number one. Number two, if you actually read the 55-page indictment, which I'm assuming folks like Tommy Lahren did not, it reads, and again, I'm not suggesting that the federal prosecutors are beyond reproach. We've learned that that's not the case either. But the allegations are not that he was just the top of the pyramid. The allegations are that he was orchestrating this illegal activity.
And then trying to cover it up.
That for nearly a decade, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people, at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him. This had been going on for some time. It alleges in the indictment he sought and accepted legal contributions in the form of straw contributions, that he compounded the gains from the straw contributions by using them to defraud New York City and steal public funds, because New York City has a matching funds program that matches small dollar contributions from individual city residents with up to 8 times their amount in public funds. That public campaign financing is a problem, but hey, that's the program, and so now he's defrauding the program at another level. He sought and received other improper benefits from some of the same co-conspirators who funneled straw donations to his campaigns. This is where he's getting travel to destinations.
Like Sri Lanka, Dubai, China, Turkey, business class, luxury hotels when he gets there.
And then also, too, that he was the one orchestrating the cover-up of it. Again, reading from the indictment, Adams did not disclose the travel benefits he'd obtained in annual financial disclosures he was required to file. Sometimes Adams agreed to pay a nominal fee to create the appearance of having paid for travel that was in fact heavily discounted. Other times Adams created and instructed others to create fake paper trails falsely suggesting he had planned to pay for travel benefits that were actually free, deleted messages others involved in his misconduct, including, in one instance, assuring a co-conspirator in writing that he always deleted her messages. So, right, there have been these FBI raids over the last several years and kept closing in on Eric Adams, and now they've closed in. So I'm not to say he's the only one with unclean hands in New York City, New York State politics, the only one with unclean hands when it comes to campaign finance. But the idea that these charges are just trumped up because he was critical of the Biden administration for not drop shipping enough cash to New York City to sustain the influx of illegals, that's a bit silly, it seems to me.
And on his way out of his residency yesterday, he wasn't met with open arms by some residents of New York.
This is not a black day. This is a youth day. This is a youth day, Eric Adams. This is not a black day. Your policies are anti-black. You are a disgrace to all black people in this city. The things that you have done are unconscionable. You hurt our schools. Our streets are dirty. Our children are harassed by the police. This is ridiculous.
It's not a black thing, it's a youth thing. For more on this and matters related to the big guy, speaking of him, please be joined by Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor, national best-selling author of Laptop from Hell. Her new book, The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. Maybe a forthcoming book, The Little Guy, How Eric Adams Sold Out New York City. Miranda Devine, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
So, I mean, just before we get to your book and the Biden crime family, I mean, since you're so close to it, the Eric Adams saga reaches its denouement. What's your perspective on why he's in this predicament?
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And I think it can be two things. I think certainly that Eric Adams enraged the Biden regime when he decided that he would speak out against migrant crisis, which is really burdensome for New York. I mean, it's costing about $5 billion so far, and New York really can't cope with it. So he did speak out, but as you said, all he was complaining about was that he wanted more money. He had no problem with New York being a sanctuary city. He was sending concierges down to meet the buses at the Port Authority terminal, shaking hands of each migrant or illegal migrant when they got off the bus and welcoming them here. So he hasn't got a problem with illegal migration. He's just got a problem with the fact that it was going to make him look bad because he wasn't going to have the money to spend on services like he'd promised. And so I think it is true that he enraged them, and therefore someone sicked the Southern District or the FBI onto him. And then when they looked under the rocks, they found a lot of smoke, let's say. So I guess he's innocent until proven guilty. But these allegations are pretty serious, and we can't excuse a politician selling out allegedly his office to foreigners. And this is exactly what I've been writing about with the Biden family.
Yeah, and you know, just with Eric Adams too. I mean, he said some wild things over his short tenure as mayor. I mean, he on again, off again plays the race card. He walks around like he is a member of a royal family. He's talked about sort of being the most important. I can't remember, this is paraphrasing. The most important black politician in America and things like this. It's just he just seems that he is. I mean, he's sort of a little bit more buttoned down, but sort of cut out of the Al Sharpton model of politician.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of travels everywhere with an entourage. He dresses incredibly lavishly. He's constantly seen after dark. Like it seems like he just thrives at 3 a.m. He is a fixture at a nightclub downtown called Zero Bond. You know, I was at a dinner that he was supposed to be at as sort of the special guest of honor up on stage. It was like a roast with, it's for the New York Press Club. And he arrives late, doesn't bother sitting down for dinner like everybody else. I mean, even the dreaded Bill de Blasio used to sit there for dinner. and Eric Adams sort of swans in, goes up on stage, does this very unfunny shtick, and then leaves to go to the nightclub. So he sort of hasn't endeared himself to New Yorkers. But I will say, in his defence, he has been better than Bill de Blasio, which is not hard.
No.
In terms of crime and homelessness, he slightly cleaned it up. Not great, but it was a little bit better under him. And the illegal migrant crisis has just thrown everything for a loop.
Well, with an ego like that, he's not going to resign, but Governor Hochul, she can take him out, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as if she's... look, there is a fantastic interim mayor standing in the wings, and that's John Catsimatidis, who's the owner of Gristedes and like a billionaire businessman in New York. Absolutely loves this city. He also owns WABC Radio. Loves this city, is incredibly competent. I think would do it, and you know, there's no way that Adams can cope with all the problems that New York has while defending himself. You know, if he's innocent, go for it, but he has some pretty serious allegations that he's up against, just greed and graft and corruption, and I don't think that, you know, America can cope with so many politicians who are corrupt. And certainly New York can't do that. So he should step aside, allow John Catsimatidis to come in, clean up the city, and then, you know, if Adams is proved to be innocent, then I'm sure Catsimatidis would be quite happy to stand aside.
Speaking of, you know, political crime families, let's check out your new book, The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. What's your perspective on the machinations behind Hunter accepting that plea deal in the tax fraud case, and how you anticipate that will play out in terms of the larger picture of how this family operates and what Hunter is protecting?
Look, I think Hunter pleading guilty is the last thing he's ever wanted since this investigation in Delaware first began. It first was launched at the end of 2018. So it's been a very long saga, and it was stretched out by the malfeasance of the DOJ, Department of Justice, in slow walking, obstructing, just putting every obstacle in the path of the investigators, who were so honest, two of them, the IRS investigators, that they became whistleblowers. And so rather than getting the sweetheart plea deal that he had anticipated and that his lawyers had worked out for him with the prosecutors, he then got charged in Delaware with gun felonies and in California with tax felonies. And even though the indictments were much less serious than they would have been, because the DOJ had allowed the most serious charges to lapse for 2014 and 2015. Despite that, there was a new set of prosecutors brought in after the whistleblowers created a scandal and it became impossible for the old prosecutors to stay on. And those new prosecutors, they managed to slip into the indictment in California the evidence from those most serious years, 2014, 2015. And that was when Hunter was being paid by Burisma, the corrupt Ukrainian company that was giving him $1 million a year. And when his father was vice president and had the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma in Ukraine forced the Ukrainian president to fire him. So that is a very sort of perilous time for Joe Biden. And so far he's managed to navigate it perfectly. He managed to get Donald Trump impeached for his sins. And that was all going to come to fruition and out in the public, embarrassingly for Joe Biden, in a California court. So I think that the prosecutors forced Hunter Biden's hand, and he didn't plead guilty until the very last minute on the first day of the trial, which would have angered the judge, I would imagine, who seemed a pretty straight shooter, because he's had to amass a larger than normal jury pool because of his Hunter Biden's high profile. There was all the extra security. There was the fact that, there was at least a 2 to 3 week trial had been mapped out. And Hunter could have come to a plea deal at any time before this, in the months before the trial was underway, and yet he didn't, because he was stubborn and because he's never been held accountable in his life. Yeah. And he wasn't going to plead guilty to anything because he's constantly maintained his innocence. And so to plead guilty just puts a lie to all his lies.
But don't you think his father was going to pardon him before he leaves office, despite what he says that he's not going to?
Exactly. I was just about to say that ultimately he's not going to be held accountable because Joe Biden, I'm sure in the lame duck period after the election, no matter what the outcome is, he's going to pardon his son, even though he said, oh, no, I won't pardon him. I mean, there are people who say, oh, well, he'll probably just commute his sentence. But I don't believe that, because that would mean that Hunter has a criminal record and that he would lose his law license. And I don't think that they want that to happen. No, they want the whole caboodle. They're greedy. And so Joe Biden will make up excuses and the media will totally exonerate him. They will say, oh, Joe Biden is just a family man. He loves his son. He's had so much grief in his life. How can you begrudge him? And they'll say, anyway, it wasn't fair because Hunter was targeted by the DOJ in a political coup, which, I mean, the opposite is the case. He was actually protected and cosseted. But believe it or not, that is his story right now, that he's innocent, but that he's the victim of weaponization of the DOJ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't expect it will ever get to sentencing. He can pardon him before sentencing and just get rid of the whole matter altogether. Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor, national best-selling author of Laptop from Hell. Her new book that we were just discussing is The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. The Big Guy by Miranda Devine. Miranda, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Good luck with the book. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, editor of First Things, Rusty Reno, on the rhetoric of assassination. That's 8:08.
Now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Chicago Board of Education is voting to ban school closures. Man convicted of murdering a Bradley police sergeant is a man convicted of the murder of a Bradley police sergeant. And WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
They're still assessing Helene's damage. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. She stormed ashore south and east of Tallahassee, Florida last night. 140-mile-an-hour winds, making it a Category 4 hurricane.
The impacts are far-reaching, and we expected that, which is why we were telling people to evacuate. Southwest Florida, which 2 years ago was hit by Ian, you're seeing a lot of impact in the Fort Myers area, Tampa, Pinellas, really the entirety of the Big Bend area, the Gulf Coast, Southwest Florida.
Florida's Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez. A storm surge reached 9 feet in some areas. The storm is now moving quickly through Georgia, but as a tropical storm. There have been hundreds of water rescues in the Tampa area and as far north as Atlanta, where responders have been using rafts to rescue people. Fox weather meteorologist Bob Van Dillen heard a woman screaming for help during a live shot in Atlanta this morning. He found her in her car, trapped in rising floodwaters.
She was panicking. The water was coming up. It was getting cold for her, obviously. So it was
it was a situation developing. She was a short lady too, so she was probably about 5 feet. There's no way she was going to be able to touch it. Just put her on my back and brought her up.
The woman is now safe. The government has just issued its consumer price index for last month, saying prices rose just 0.1% from July to August. That's half the gain from the month previous. Year-to-year inflation now pegged at 2.2%. Vice President Harris headed for the border, a campaign appearance today in Douglas, Arizona.
She's going to say that problems are there because Donald Trump told Republicans to kill a bipartisan border bill last year. But when you look at the full 3.5-year picture here, 8.3 million border encounters for the 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration. That is up 241.5% from the 2.4 million southwest border encounters of the Trump years.
Fox's Peter Ducey. America is listening to Fox News.
66 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. We have a beach hazard warning up for the Illinois, Lake Michigan lakefront and the dunes of northwest Indiana. An extensive search was started this morning near a hotel in Lombard after hotel workers at the Extended Stay America told first responders they were searching for a child that was a guest at that hotel. Lombard Police and Fire Department, including divers, were sweeping a pond next to the hotel, but about a half an hour ago, police report the 2-year-old girl had been found safe. 3 people in 2 different vehicles were wounded by drive-by gunfire in the Grand Crossing neighborhood Thursday night. Shooting took place around 10:40 in the 7500 block of South Stony Island. A 23-year-old man and 25-year-old man were transported in critical condition. Chicago Board of Education putting a ban on school closures for the near future and also not talking about forcing out their CEO.
You cannot and will not and won't discuss confidential or personnel matters publicly.
The vote comes after the Chicago Teachers Union had claimed Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez was planning closures. Mayor Brandon Johnson last night not happy with being stiff-armed by his hand-picked board.
This is really, not about discussing personnel issues, and I've said that repeatedly. Yeah, well, what families want to know is that the mayor of Chicago is still committed to transforming our public school systems.
A jury has convicted a man of killing a police sergeant in South Suburban Bradley in 2021.
It's hard not to feel anything but sadness because of this senseless act of violence that we experienced.
Bradley Chief Don Barber reacting to news outside the courtroom that Darius Sullivan was found guilty of the murder for shooting Sergeant Marlene Ripmanick to death and wounding Officer Tyler Bailey. Chicago sports. White Sox shut out the Angels 7-0, sweeping their 3-game series at Guaranteed Rate Field. They move on to the Tigers tonight, while the Cubs host the Reds and the Blackhawks visit the Red Wings in Detroit. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a medical PPO, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get that smile back. Check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Wall Street will be reacting today to the PCE index, the inflation update for August. Stock futures are flat after the S&P 500 closed at a record yesterday, its 42nd of the year. Before the end of the year, Intel and the U.S. government are expected to finalize a deal to provide the chip maker with $8.5 billion in grants. The Financial Times says in addition to those grants, the preliminary agreement includes up to $11 billion in loans for Intel in Arizona, where some of the funding will be used for new factories and to modernize an existing plant. Hotel room prices are jumping, not just in expensive locations. The Wall Street Journal says this year, 20% of hotels in the top 25 U.S. markets are charging at least $200 a night. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
Mike Gallagher sees a weird twist to the immigration issue.
You know, the issue of assimilation. Residents of Springfield, Ohio, reporting that Haitians are eating their family pets, killing the ducks and geese in the ponds. It's another gift of the Biden-Harris mass immigration plan.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
There's a lot going on in today's America, and it can get hard to turn your mind off at night. That's why conservatives have been turning to Beam's Dream. Dream has improved 15 million nights of sleep, and it can improve yours too. Their Dream formula helps you put your day to bed. Just one scoop helps you unlock a full 8 hours of sleep. It might just be the easiest thing you do all day and night. Beam's Dream Formula is the key to falling asleep faster and staying asleep longer. Thanks to its proprietary ingredient stack, mornings feel refreshing, not like a groggy wake-up call. This is a simple, zero-effort addition to any nightly ritual. Simply mix Dream into hot water or milk, then froth and enjoy. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder for yourself and enjoy this limited-time offer of up to 35% off when you go to shopbeam.com/America and use the code America at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/America and use the code America for up to 35% off.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Oh, I love it. I'm 83 years old, and it has helped me.
Everything was okay. I feel better. I just turned 90, so I'm doing real good.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You know, some guys tell me, oh, that's psychological, man. I said, let me tell you something. I don't care what it is. It's working.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
8:09 and a check on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It's an hour and 10 on the inbound Kennedy O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stop and go from Central to Montrose. Outbounders, 37, back out to O'Hare. I-55, they are still cleaning up an accident with a left lane block. It's on the northbound side between Route 59 and US 52. Dan Ryan outbound. Bad accident, 2 right lanes blocked. It's outbound between the Circle and Roosevelt. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
It'll be windy today with some clouds and sunshine. High today at 73. Cloudy, windy, mild tonight, low 62. And then clouds and breezy. Shower tomorrow, the high 70. Breezy Sunday morning and then a partly sunny afternoon, the high 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Thanks to our friends on Channel 9. Look at those waves on Lake Michigan this morning, crashing into the shoreline. 67 at O'Hare, 68 at Midway, 62 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This delegate, non-voting delegate member of Congress from the Virgin Islands named Stacey Plaskett is a good example of the bad example in our politics today. I mean, sort of an honorary member of the Socialist Spice Girls, even though she can't vote, as they can. This is a person who doesn't have any firing synapses. She just has political cant, to borrow from Anthony Esselin. There's not a brain where there's supposed to be a brain. There's just this repository of political cant that she spews. And it's the most virulent kind. It's at once, ignorant and incendiary, which is not a great combination. Here's her most recent offerings, and then we'll go to the vault and give you another example, or other examples, which makes her a good example to be studied, a good case study with respect to our politics.
Can't wait to hear it.
Stacey Plaskett, on the purpose of the FBI DOJ hearings this week, where you had, among others, FBI whistleblower Marcus Allen detailing his abuse at the hands of his superiors at FBI for daring to ask questions about their conduct as it relates to January 6th and other such FBI forays. Stacey Plaskett.
What is the point of this subcommittee? Because it's necessary for the public and the media to hear, to try, and provide cover for the eradication of the Department of Justice and the FBI. We are having these hearings so that you become immune. You become inured to the notion of the removal of the FBI and DOJ, so that those agencies are no longer there to serve as a check against white nationalism, great replacement theorists, Christian nationalists, white fragility, fascists, and the twice impeached, convicted felon, former president and would-be dictator, Donald Trump.
So the hearings this week were an effort to fast-track the elimination of the DOJ, Department of Justice, and the FBI, so that we could institute a Christian nationalist, fascist, white supremacist king and court, Trump and company. Sure, there's a lot of evidence to support that claim. But Stacey Plaskett, like many of her colleagues, not so focused on evidentiary support for the claims they make. As I said, there is no brain there. There is just a index of political cant where a brain is supposed to be. For example, more from Stacey Plaskett, in case you think that that was a one-off. Well, that's, a weak moment she had. Stacey Plaskett directing her focus to Elon Musk.
Oh boy!
And Elon Musk's management of Twitter, that company he bought, you may have heard.
And Mr. Musk, since you think tweeting or Xing or whatever it is you do on your platform about me is going to scare me to be quiet, you obviously don't know what I'm made of. Generations of individuals who have fought for me to have the ability to say what I want to say, to speak the truth. You forget that this is not pre-1990s apartheid South Africa, the country of your birth. This is America. And there are more of us Americans that love our diversity, our rule of law, than there are of you who would like us all to be sycophants to your ego.
To criticize Stacey Plaskett is to be P.W. Botha, is to be the elimination of apartheid South Africa, to disagree with her, to criticize her on your platform and allow others to compliment or criticize her as well. I mean, the ironies abound, but again, there is no brain there. Stacey Plaskett has a penchant for Freudian slips. Sometimes it's difficult to remember the script.
It deals with the security of this country. Remember, Homeland Security was created after after September 11th, right?
Right, because J6,
Worse than September 11th in her mind, probably.
Yeah. Stacey Davis Gates, Stacey Plaskett. She reminds me of Stacey Davis Gates, the CTU president here. Stacey Plaskett, I had a Freudian slip.
Oh, you did too, yeah.
Stacey Plaskett on the Trump classified documents case.
Having Trump not only have had the codes, but now having the classified information for Americans and being able to put that out and share it in his resort with anyone and everyone who comes through should be terrifying to all Americans, and he needs to be stopped.
He needs to be shot or stopped. I guess one would affect the other.
Jeez, a lot of these slips. Now, somebody texted in IQ of Don Lemon.
For more on Stacey Plaskett and sort of what she represents, an archetype, perhaps, of our political discourse, Rusty Reno joins us. Rusty Reno is the editor of First Things, firstthings.com. Rusty, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you guys.
Well, you wrote this piece, I saw, the rhetoric of assassination, and it, there's many examples to choose from, but she just popped to mind, maybe because of her popping off this week on a couple of topics. But, this is sort of what you're talking about with respect to, constitutionally protected speech. No one's arguing that, or at least I'm certainly not. But, what it does to the quality of our discourse and the administration of the republic.
Well, we have this rhetoric on the left that just goes right to Hitler or South African apartheid or Bull Connor, police commissioner in Birmingham. So it's always 1939 or always 1959 in their minds, and we're always fighting against some terrible evil. And people on the right don't disagree. They are evildoers that are ready to destroy the republic, et cetera, et cetera. And this obviously is an inflammatory way to approach political debate.
And the impact of this inflammatory way in your assessment?
I think that you and I, we can recognize this is exaggeration, and we can regret it. But in any society, you have disturbed and unstable people. And this gives them permission to take extreme action. I have no doubt that by talking about Trump as the second coming of Hitler, the people who've attempted, the two men who've attempted it, made attempts on his life, they are encouraged in this direction. You heard Plaskett, he must be shot or stopped, and that. If we say either, if he's elected, our democratic republic will come to an end, you could see how someone would say, well, then I have a duty to stop him. Again, it seems to me this is always a measure of rhetoric, which is what's it going to do to the person who's unstable?
Right.
Not to the typical citizen rolls his eyes, and doesn't take any extreme action, but the unstable and the unsettled are motivated to do extreme things by extreme rhetoric.
Well, what do you say to the left who claims that Trump is the one that's using the inflammatory rhetoric?
He does, but he doesn't touch on these tropes that are so powerful in the last 2-3 generations: the Hitler trope, the fascism trope, the racism trope. He has his lock her up rhetoric from, as you recall, from 2016. But there's a kind of playfulness to what he does with his people. And it's interesting that we don't see violence. We don't see that kind of, in this electoral cycle, violence on the right.
The other thing it does for those who are not prone to violence is many of those people adopt the position regardless. So, they will take the position that he is a threat to our democracy. He is the end of the republic. Republicans generally, Trump specifically, they take these extreme positions. They're not going to act violently in furtherance of those positions. They won't take it that far. But I mean, they speak with the same fervor and wildness as, you know, your crazed Antifa member roaming the streets looking for trouble.
You know, some wag famously said in 2016 that Trump voters did not take him literally, but took him seriously.
Mm-hmm.
What I find so troubling is that, you know, I have friends on the left who are university-educated, sophisticated people who do actually believe that Trump is a threat to democracy. Yeah. And I just have to scratch my head and say, I mean, he's run for public office. This is now his third time. You know, in what sense is he trying to operate outside of the democratic process? Doesn't seem that way at all. Moreover, far from having at his command some paramilitary group, I think a critic of Trump could say that he's really not a good organizer, that his first administration was chaotic and not indeed some sort of disciplined party effort to overthrow the American system of government. So anyway, it just seems that that's an important difference, I think, is that there are smart, responsible people on the left who actually believe this extreme rhetoric. You know, and that's very disturbing to me.
Something you wrote in your piece about the elites, you write, the members of our liberal establishment can't imagine a world in which they're not in charge. And that's an important point. It's one that David Mamet made a couple of years ago as well. He said, you know, you have to understand about Hollywood and leftist elite circles, which he was a part of for so long, is that the thing they fear the most is being cut out, is being left behind. And it seems to me that that's why Trump engenders the otherworldly antipathy from that group of people. First of all, he knows a lot of them, and he was friendly with a lot of them in his political life, and they know with Mitt Romney or John McCain or George W. Bush and the Bush, they know they're still going to be part of the in crowd. But with this guy, they could actually get cut out of the action, and I think that I think there's something very important about that point.
I agree, and I could never understand why they insist on doubling down. You would think that you would want to cover your bases, right? Okay, I don't like Trump. His policies I disagree with, but I shouldn't target him as they have with these lawsuits, you know, with prosecution. Targeting him, that would just motivate him to be even more aggressive in freezing them out. But I'm a little bit baffled by that, but it just does speak to this arrogance of our ruling class. You know, in 2016, he would say in his rallies, our country is run by very stupid people. And of course, that's not true. They're very clever and well-educated. But at another level, he's correct. They are so, I mean, hubris is the Greek for pride or a sense of invulnerability. And that can be very fatal, that kind of hubris. And I think we see that in the liberal establishment.
Rusty Reno is the editor at First Things, firstthings.com. Rusty, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's Jeep Adventure Days at Bettenhausen Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, now open on 159th Street in Lockport. Bettenhausen has your ticket to anywhere. Hurry in and get huge savings off MSRP on a new Jeep Grand Cherokee or Jeep Compass. Bettenhausen has big savings on a new Ram 1500 or new Chrysler Pacifica. Bettenhausen has the Midwest's best selection. Choose from over 900 vehicles with no hassle and no haggle. Showroom never closes at cdjroflockport.com.
It's your life, your legacy. Shouldn't it be your choice? For nearly 2 centuries, Catholic Cemetery Chicago has been a haven for families, offering sacred spaces to honor these legacies. Take an active role by pre-planning your final arrangements. Alleviate your loved ones a future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of no interest payments and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Did you and your family lose Illinois Medicaid and need health coverage? Check this out. You may be eligible to enroll in a low-cost health plan at healthcare.gov. With the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov offers quality plans that cover doctor visits, prescriptions, emergency care, and more. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Dan and Amy, yes, it's that time of the week. Open Mic Friday. Take your calls with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And we begin, as we do, with David Kolsak, founder of turnkey.pro. David.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. First of all, I want to say, Dan, is your house good down in Florida?
I barely dodged Hurricane Helene. I'm happy to report it. Water came over the seawall a bit, but stabilized and then receded. So I dodged it.
But your golf club. Tell them
well,
about
yeah.
Just
updating our top story this morning. Old Florida is carts only today. Is walk only. There are no carts today, Old Florida. And please be patient as the ground crew needs to remove some debris. So again, our top story, Old Florida, walking only, no carts today, and some debris needs to be removed. In a related story, David.
Tell me the grill's open at least, right?
The grill is open normal hours. Also, Gulf Coast Sporting Clays will be closed today for post-hurricane cleanup and will reopen tomorrow, Saturday, September 28th. Not a lot of damage, but did get some water. So for those who enjoy shotgun sports, Gulf Coast Clays closed today.
Okay.
Our secondary top story. And will reopen tomorrow. David, thanks so much for asking. I appreciate it.
Well, that's a lot of information. Thanks for sharing all that. I was hoping to get down to play around sometime earlier. But I think it's funny how, we can't predict the weather tomorrow in Chicago, but we can predict, the exact path of a hurricane a week out before it hits, the coast. So it's interesting to me, all that. But anyway, one thing about the P. Diddy developing story, right? I just want to ask the question, what happens if between now and the election, one of the candidates ends up being exposed for being involved in one of those freak-offs, like being a participant? That would make the fictional PP tape look like an episode of Mr. Rogers. So I think that's something to look forward to as this all unfolds. How high does it go, and will it ever be disclosed? But what I really want to talk about was the need for a villain these days, or a boogeyman, in order to shape public opinion and keep us in a perpetual state of war. I remember being in grade school, we had nuclear fallout drills in our classrooms. I don't know if you remember these. They were kind of comical when you think of it now. You would have to get under your desk and cover your head with your hands, and that was going to protect you from a nuclear bomb and the fallout. It was scary, and it instilled fear in you, and that fear sparked some prejudice and anger at the Soviet Union. The USSR was the enemy, and it was personally my first boogeyman. It went so far at that time, in the Miracle on Ice in 1980 in the Olympics, it was literally a battle between the USA and the Soviet Union. It was good versus evil, professional Soviet athletes versus amateur athletes, guys who skated without laces for fun versus a ragtag group of Americans. Again, our conditioning to hate the Soviet Union for the fear of nuclear war and communism led us to believe a certain way, and that justification for action should they do something to our way of life. So, that hockey game wasn't even for the gold medal, but the victory felt like we won the war. Think about Pearl Harbor and the Gulf of Tonkin. Again, more villains rise up, and the story surrounding the villain is what garners public awareness and sympathy and gives justification for a military response. The problem is that you must keep the villain heinous enough so the public continues to support the war. Clearly, the Vietnam boogeyman didn't have enough legs for the public to hang on to support that war, and you saw widespread protests. So it's a tricky business. Remember Saddam Hussein? Who could forget that boogeyman? He had weapons of mass destruction, so we were told. He was a dictator and overall a bad guy. He used fear, propaganda, and patronage networks to secure his rule. And if you expressed any political dissent, you were killed or met with lethal force. He was easy to despise, and we just justified the long effort to remove him to insert, quote-unquote, democracy. Look how that turned out. Saddam Hussein precipitated Operation Desert Storm. And then you look at 9/11, where the narrative tells us that the Muslim terrorist hijacks airplanes and flew them into buildings in New York City and other places. Another boogeyman appears, and public opinion is shaped in order to justify war. To a certain extent, the events of January 6th as well created a bigger boogeyman for some people in Trump. Even when you look at the events of October 7th in Israel, those attacks created a villain in Hamas and a justification for the invasion and probable annexation of the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and probably parts of Lebanon. Once a new big boogeyman emerges, I think we have to look out for the bigger picture and what that villain gives way to. So today it's Iran, and it has been for a while, ever since 1979. Iran has had a bad rap in this part of the world, but recently we see the tweet by the Ayatollah where he cryptically shows footage of Mar-a-Lago and Trump on a golf course in crosshairs. And since the first assassination attempt, there have been many who have said that Iran is ultimately behind the attempts. Biden's DNI even briefed Trump on the alleged Iranian attempts to assassinate him. Call me skeptical, color me skeptical. It sounds like they're attempting to blame Iran for the CIA Democrat attempts to assassinate him. They would never willingly release this intelligence to Trump. They clearly want him dead. Could they be seeking to deceive the public and blame Iran to prevent the masses from connecting the dots and blaming the CIA or the Democrats? This is not to say I support Iran, but this reeks of classic CIA subterfuge. And given that the intelligence community will never tell us the truth about anything, I strongly doubt that they abruptly grew some integrity. To be clear, I'm not buying it. Boogeymen are necessary to shift the public opinion, and it's been done this way for a very long time. I guess that's how wars work. The question is, how organic are these events? I'm sure some of them are, but I'm sure that many of them are not. That is, they're false flags. And a false flag is when you do something to elicit a response to precipitate a boogeyman. So be careful when you watch the coverage of the conflict in the Middle East as it grows. They will use events to elicit emotion, sympathy, and anger, all in the name of making us fall in line to support whatever they want to do. At all costs, they will control the narrative to ensure that we're in a perpetual state of war. I'm tired of fighting other people's war, and I think the public at large is too. So look out for the boogeyman. Don't let him scare you. He's just another excuse to go to war.
Okay. You might consider that criticizing alleged false flag operations by offering a bit of a false flag commentary is rather ironic. There are such things as evildoers in this world, and the mullahs in Tehran and the Soviets were evildoers, and you don't have to believe an intel assessment from the CIA. You can just read Solzhenitsyn, for example, if you want to understand the Soviet era and the death and destruction attendant to that 70-year period. I mean, let's be, the idea that these heads of states and these totalitarian societies and Islamofascists are just boogeymen conjured up for the war party, if that's sort of the simplistic thesis of that commentary, then I got to say I'm not on board with that in any way, shape, or form. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's I'm not saying that's a little too simplistic. I'm saying you have to take the idea that they can plant an idea into the minds of the people, like this whole Iranian thing. Like we saw these shooters, the first assassination attempt and the second. So you're looking at them now create a narrative of saying Iran. That's what my point is just saying that you got to look at this and go.
Yeah, you got to look at that, and you got to think, well, gee, with the mullahs in Iran, these state sponsors of terror, long-standing, well-documented, not really even in controversy, would they want to exact vengeance on Trump for the affront and embarrassment of making Soleimani a stain on the road? Is that a possibility? Yeah, it's certainly a possibility, I think.
It's a possibility, but it's more likely that the CIA doesn't want Trump in. I mean, bottom line is you can't avoid either one of those perspectives. You got to think about them both.
All right, David Kolsak, thank you, appreciate it. Peter in Barrington, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, Dan. Morning, Amy. Thanks for the call. I don't know if you remember in April when Ukraine was supposed to have an election, Zelensky, they basically halted it and implemented martial law. What's stopping the U.S. Congress from doing the same thing? Because we all know Trump's not going to see the Oval Office as much as we want him to. He's not going to. So what's stopping Congress from halting an election this year?
First of all, I reject the premise that we're not going to see Trump in the Oval Office. That is a foregone conclusion. Number one. Number two. What is stopping Congress from halting the election? I don't know. Speaker Johnson. I mean, is there some movement afoot to halt the election? Has that been proposed? Who is going to do that unilaterally? Exactly.
Can't they declare war and say, hey, we're fighting with Ukraine and Israel right now. We can't do an election.
No, I mean, come on. Let's get a hold of ourselves. Thanks for the call, Peter. Come on. Let's stay within the boundaries of rational thought. Now, everything under the sun is possible. Yes, I know, but really. Ralph and Wilmette.
Hey guys. Hey Dan. Glad to have you back. Another election question. On election night 2020, no one that I've heard has explained how it was that Trump's vote count started running backward. Shortly after that, the system was shut. Does anyone explain how this happened, and how can we keep it from happening again?
I mean, if we could focus on things that are center cut. I mean, if you want to talk about election integrity, here's something that's center cut. This story out of Maricopa County about a foreign national named Lee Leemans.
Caught off guard, Luke Leemans said he never registered to vote, but then he got this voter education guide in the mail. And then he got this voter identification card, labeling him as a registered voter with no political party affiliation. The catch is that Leemans is not a United States citizen.
That's not right. I want to know what's going on, and I want to basically cancel my registration.
He's been living in Arizona since the 1980s on a green card sponsored by his employer based in Belgium. Leemans doesn't recall ever willingly registering to vote, and he didn't vote in either the 2022 or 2024 elections.
So that's something substantive. You actually have a human being there named Luke Leemans, who's a Belgian national, who is essentially acting as a whistleblower with the help of this outlet, this internet outlet. And so now this is something the Republican Party can investigate. And this is something you can press Maricopa County, which is definitely under suspicion in terms of the administration of elections there. This is something you can press them directly. That's what I'm talking about. The story like this from the Oversight Project about migrants being registered to vote, and in Arizona again, and prepared to vote for Kamala.
Just out of curiosity, are you registered to vote?
Yes, we've already registered.
Are you a citizen?
No.
Are you a citizen? No, I'm waiting for my residency right now. And do you plan to vote this year? Yes. Who do you prefer right now? Kamala or Trump?
Doesn't even matter who they prefer because they're not eligible to vote, and that's what matters. And so you have real work being done there by these outlets like the Oversight Project and the gentleman who covered that, Luke Lehman's guy from Belgium. So there's some evidence that local party, the Trump campaign, can run with, can press Maricopa County, can press Arizona election authorities with respect to the accuracy of their voter rolls and the administration of the elections, in addition to the infrastructure that needs to be built to run a proper ballot integrity program on Election Day. That's center cut. So this is what people should focus on, even if it's in a far-flung locale, is spreading the word about these matters, not trying to relitigate the 2020 election. There is no currency in that. David in LaGrange Park.
Hey, I remember on Monday that Amy was talking about always carrying an EpiPen with her when they were talking about the cruise on the lake. And it started making me think about the perfect metaphor for the difference between a conservative like Amy Jacobson and a leftist like Hillary Clinton. Amy Jacobson carries an EpiPen in her purse to help other people, and Hillary Clinton pretends to carry hot sauce in her purse to help herself.
Okay. Thanks for the call, David.
EpiPen right here, yes.
Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Oh, Eduardo.
Yeah, good morning. I saw this on the DW News.
Oh, hey, wait.
Hey, how you hurt? Hey, how's
you do?
Helena?
How'd you do with Helena?
I'm fine. I never lost power. Just shaking trees. Even a white cat wound up checking my house out, so I'm fine.
Okay, good.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Is that your first one?
South Africa. What's that?
I said, was that your first hurricane? Your second?
No, second.
Okay.
Second one. All right. Yeah, we're fine. South Africa is behind Germany, cracking down on illegal immigration. They don't want it to be a haven for asylum seekers and pushing out the locals for employment opportunities. So good for them. We're going to be next.
Thanks, Eduardo. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Always a pleasure speaking to you, and glad to hear you, Dan, and Sean, that your Florida homes are okay.
Thank you.
Let me now offer, remember, the 5th of November.
Okay, Guy Fawkes. All right.
Yes, Guy Fawkes. I just realized Guy Fawkes Day coincides with our election day, an election night, and I'm just wondering if we're going to see civil disobedience on that night.
I mean, if Trump wins, I don't want to be in Chicago.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I don't want to be in Chicago either way, but
you won't be.
Yeah, and I won't be. But yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about it before. I think you're going to have, if Trump wins, I think you're going to have violence in the streets of major cities around the country. I mean, I just think that's how it's wired because of what we were just talking about with Rusty Reno and the infrastructure around that agitprop. You know, all of these organizations that are happy to engage in violence because it's righteous in support of our republic somehow. I mean, summer of 2020, the sacking of Kenosha. Ed and Glen Ellen.
Hey, Dan and Amy. I just wanted to respond to David's commentary this morning. It almost sounded like he was setting it up as a zero-sum game. And just because there's threats from Iran doesn't mean there aren't legitimate threats from Iran, but to say that that's a cover-up for CIA or anything else removes the possibility that both or more options are certainly out there and available.
Yeah, exactly right. Thanks for the call, Ed. And you know, it is. I mean, it just minimizes the evil of totalitarian regimes like the Islamofascist mullahs or the communist Soviets. These sort of false equivalences, and not to mention, the idea that the CIA, right, all of this, they're so uber competent, and that they can pull off these conspiracy theories and triple bank shots and so forth. And yet, what have we been discussing time and again over the last decade? How proficient these experts are in their respective fields, how deft and skillful and clever these bureaucracies are. Are those descriptions of the FBI, the Secret Service, the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security? How about this story? Medical experts. Has anybody seen 17,000 kidneys?
What? That'll wake someone up. 17,000?
There are more than 100,000 Americans on the waiting list to receive an organ transplant, and many of them die without ever getting one. At least some of those lives would have been saved if the monopoly government contractors managing Americans' organ donation system weren't so bad at their jobs. A scientist named Jennifer Erickson, who's a senior fellow at the Federation of American Scientists, reminds us monopolies don't work, and government-funded monopolies are even worse. Here we go again. Hurting patients, hurting taxpayers. According to the University of Pennsylvania, about 28,000 donatable organs are going uncollected each year from people who have died after agreeing to be an organ donor. That includes 17,000 kidneys. Additionally, 1 in every 5 kidneys is thrown away after being harvested rather than making it to a recipient. Those missed opportunities mean longer waits on the transplant list, but it also means higher costs for taxpayers. Every Medicare patient, for example, who gets a new kidney this year will save taxpayers $250,000 in future dialysis costs. However, the government contractors who are supposed to be doing the work of connecting donors with recipients keep failing to do so. There are 56 organ procurement organizations operating in exclusive territories around the country. A study that's now 5 years old found that just 6 of them were collecting at least 50% of the available donated organs in their zones. A 2021 HHS report concluded that the single-source contract for the United Network of Organ Sharing meant the organization had, quote, little to no incentives to improve its operations, obviously. So, again, what are the characteristics of these unwieldy, insulated bureaucracies? Uber competence, or general incompetence, general failure at their stated mission. And yes, there are rogue actors, and there are myriad instances of corruption and malign conduct. But I mean, honestly, can we rank order priority the threats to a free society for just a moment? David and hold on.
Oh, he would. Okay.
David and Racine.
Greetings. Yes.
Oh, jeez. Whoa. Hold on, David. That's.
Yeah, I'm not Luke. I am not your father.
That was Bane from Dark Knight.
That's what the mask you wore during COVID, remember?
Glenn in Orlando.
Who is? Oh boy, was that Satan on the line? Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. He's got that direct number.
I strongly encourage the Congress to put Mayorkas under oath and answer questions about the Secret Service and if he's had any influence on DEI hires for the Secret Service.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. Kevin, the Prime Minister, of course.
See, he's all over your trip. Now you're going to have to talk about your hat.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes were calling it. How was the week in Ireland?
It was lovely, PM. Thank you. I enjoyed your country, your homeland.
Why, thank you. I wonder if there's any cause-effect relationship over the fact that you go away and you leave the country, and then there's all kind of talk of lube. What with the Sean P. Diddy Combs, there's talk of huge lube.
They're called freak-offs, okay, Prime Minister?
Mm-hmm.
Danny, did you see any of the poets there in County Limerick?
Did not see any of the poets. Did see tributes to the James Joyce's of the world, but no, I did not run into any actual poets on my travels.
I got just a few quick comments. First, if Rich P. Diddy does spend the rest of his life, in the stony lonesome, the bald attendees of his freakout party will have made some bald-faced lies when they say, Combs will never part with you.
Oh, brother. Oh, boy. Oof. Oh, boy. I thought maybe you were going to have a P. Diddy, Sam Bankman-Fried angle here, like a reboot of Bosom Buddies, or something like that.
Is that true? They're sharing the same cell, or they're in the same wing of the...
Well, I think they're bunkmates.
It wasn't Jiffy Lube, but it was lube in a jiffy, and it's all Costco's fault.
Okay.
And also, Danny boy, while you were away, the Teamsters, did not embrace the candidate with the imposter syndrome.
Okay.
But it reminded me of my old girlfriend. She was a Teamster. She was a welder. I called her Tuesday. I called her Wednesday. By Friday, the sparks were flying. But we were young and we wanted different things. She wanted a lasting union. Pipe fitter.
Oh, boy.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Prime Minister.
We're so glad you're back, Danny boy.
Thank you very much. Great to be back. Okay. Cleansing breath.
Your hat. Just that course, I looked it up online. It looked beautiful.
Tralee. Yeah, Tralee's a great track.
How many balls did you lose on that thing?
Will and Skokie.
Or is that personal?
Good morning. Given the recent thing, they're pushing a BIPOC librarian thing, that they're just having people of color come in. As a former physicist, you have to realize the science. Black is the absence of color, and white is all colors.
Very good, Will. Thanks for the call. Let's try David and Racine one more time. There you go, David.
Is that better? Okay. Just thinking, wondering what Tim Walz was doing when he was in China and why he was still able to retain membership in the military. Maybe he was working as a honeypot, getting close to Chinese leaders. And the walk-on music would be "I'm Just a Gigolo" by David Lee Roth.
Thanks for the call,
He did go
David.
there for his honeymoon, and he was there 30 times, and he did bring students with him a few times.
Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Amy and Dan, the calling show is living up to the crackpot's conspiracy theories.
No, sort of.
That's true.
I wanted to call in, so everybody's so upset because Trump is an existential threat to the Democrat or to the establishment. And I had to look up existential because it's a long time since I had a philosophy class. And that's to something's very existence. So I think that's why they're so terrified and they're throwing everything they can. And why did they create lawsuits against him? Because it's worked so many times in the past. For whatever reason, it's finally not working. And then I want to ask you, since no money's being poured in from out of state, there's no Senate races, and the Illinois Republican Party seems to be trying to rebuild. What do they need to do to rebuild? And then what can your listeners do? Because we got 39 days to stop the spread of socialism. What can they do to get involved in races, even in races like Hovde in neighboring Wisconsin, to help him win? So just on a practical level, what can somebody who listens to you, who may be a sales background or something like that, how can they jump on and help the effort?
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Well, it's good timing. I just got a notice from Jeannie Ives that she's got a group up in Wisconsin walking today, and there's another walk planned on October 19th. So there's days of action for Trump through Breakthrough Ideas, Jeannie Ives. And then one's today. I guess the next one's October 19th. So there's one thing. I got a buddy who's going up to be a poll watcher in just over the border, I think in Kenosha or Milwaukee, on Election Day. I mean, so those are the sorts of things. You know, Wisconsin is the state that's in play around here. Michigan as well, for people that have connections to Michigan or want to go up there. And so it's easy enough to connect with the campaign and the local parties in places like Wisconsin and Michigan where they have such things. Illinois is a colossal waste of time. And that's not me saying it. That's the Illinois Republican Party saying it. That's what they've said by their conduct. Rich in Indian Head Park.
Yes, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
Mun-
One thing
Munchkin
that,
line. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Rich. You're good.
yeah, the one thing I wanted to say is, I'm tired of hearing that we're a country of immigrants. When the people years ago came here, they came here legally. They were vetted, and if they were sick, they were quarantined until they were found healthy enough coming to the country. The people that are coming here now, the majority of them are illegals. They're given gift cards and phones and apartments to stay at. Well, years ago, they weren't given none of that. The people that came here for a better life for their families, and they worked hard for everything they got. They didn't come here to be a burden on the country. And that's what all these illegals are, whether people want to believe that or not. Thanks, you guys, and have a good weekend.
Thanks for the call, Rich. Phil up Melrose Park.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. Just wanted to tell you, it's my opinion, the reason the Democrats keep pandering and dividing and pushing everybody against each other, they lost the majority of the white vote back in the 60s. So they just keep chopping everybody up into little groups, whether it's LGBT or trans or black and white or whatever. They just got to keep dividing and keep pandering because they're running out of base. Their base is not as big as everybody says it is. They've been corrupted elections for 100 years, whether it's voting illegals or cemeteries or whatever they can do. You guys have a nice day.
Thanks for the call, Philip. Well, as we talked about earlier in the program with Brett Baier, the real divide here is not racial, it's education level, and I use that in quotation marks because a college degree does not convey necessarily educated, like you're an educated person. College is increasingly where you go to unlearn all sorts of things that are true. But the college degree is the great divider right now in terms of if you want to split the electorate up into two camps, it's those without college degrees and those with college degrees. That's where the biggest delta is, the education, quote-unquote education gap that Rui Teixeira wrote about at liberalpatriot.com. And, and it speaks to other realities about the current constitution of America's electorate. But that's key. And it really should be pause for consideration about K through 12 and college education in this country, because nothing has done more to corrupt America than government schools, K through college. And getting a handle, particularly on K through 12, but really K through college, will be, in my view, what determines whether or not the 21st century will be another American century or not. That's how dire it is. You just have half the country that has no or very little capacity for critical thought, for a little or no ability to connect dots, little or no ability to reason, little or no ability to tolerate criticism or dissent. And it begins in the home, but it is that those poor qualities are fomented by government education, government school systems, K through college in this country. Chuck and Delavan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How you doing? I ain't got nothing good for you up in Lake Geneva. Right now I'm sitting in a restaurant named Cotton's in downtown Trenton, Tennessee. And I'm down here hanging drywall and I'm down here hanging cabinets. And it's really a sad comment on society when you got to have somebody from Wisconsin drive all the way to Tennessee to install your kitchen cabinet.
They don't have anybody in Tennessee to hang drywall anymore? They're all writing music in Nashville or what?
That's it. Everybody wants to be country western singer.
There you go.
So you guys have a great weekend.
Good luck
Thanks
with
for calling in. Even though he's hanging drywall, he took out time to be a part of our show.
Can't end the week without Chuck from Delavan by way of Tennessee. All right.
All right. Thanks to Justin Kosick, Quinn McCarthy, and to all of you for listening and for participating. Have a wonderful weekend. And now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Fox with the very latest on what now is Tropical Storm Helene and the death of one of the most famous actresses of our time, Maggie Smith, dead at the age of 89. Fox with the latest on those developing stories and more. WIND Chicago News Time, 9 o'clock.
Forecasters warn of catastrophic flooding. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. From the rain being dumped on the southwest by the remnants of Hurricane Helene.
Catastrophic flooding in and around the Atlanta area, northeast of Atlanta, up towards the Carolinas. And some of the language that the National Weather Service is using, especially in the southern Appalachians, is historic. Never happened